Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us, and welcome to Future of AI's first virtual event for 2020. I'm Ben Peled, and with me is Asaf Lavi, and we're both from People and Computers, the company organizing this amazing conference now in its third year. We have over 1,000 registered attendees from Israel and around the world, and over 3 hours of content on AI and data, especially in the age of coronavirus, and how it's relevant to you and to your businesses. I wish you a great event. I highly recommend you visit our sponsor booths and see their offers and their promotions. Those too might be relevant to your businesses. Asaf?
Thank you, Ben. We'd like to invite you to enjoy our sessions and chat with our experts by the chat that's displayed by the session itself. Visit our sponsors at their booths and meet with your go-to guy or gal at our B2B meeting platform. Should you have any difficulty or miss out on your individual, please reach out to us. We'd love to help.
Thank you and have a great event.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today to discuss the future of AI. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic situation, as a presenter, I can't see your faces in the crowd, and I pray that we'll get back to normal as soon as possible and see each other in the next conventions. We all understand the major role of technology in the pandemic outbreak. From population-based modeling to governance to the pursuit after the cure, technology is getting major investments in all sectors. We are seeing more and more services being digitized, and it's here to stay and to influence our future behavior. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Benny Malka. I lead the unstructured data solution team in Central Eastern Europe for Dell in the past 10 years. 10 years is a long time to be in the unstructured data solution world, and the journey that I've been taking with our customers and our partners from integrating traditional BI and analytics to machine learning and deep learning has been amazing. And I'm here to share with you today from my experience. So when asked why AI becomes such a hot topic today, I'm answering that it's a combination of forces. First to name is the data availability. As individuals, we are creating a lot of data. Data is out there for organization to learn, to predict, to adapt to the market, to change their products. And organizations are making heavy investments around it today. In fact, in the past 2 years, we've created more than 90% of the digital data existing today. So talking about the future, with the integration of IoT and digital chips in every tool that we are using today, data will exponentially grow. So talking about the future, big growth of data and more available data for sure. The second force is the availability of affordable compute. Today with Intel chip design and CPUs, we can get to a major performance. We can at a small scale test algorithms. And you don't need to be an enterprise organization who invests millions to build yourself a high-performance computing system to test your algorithms. What's going to be the future regarding computing? Well, we know today that physicists are harnessing the technology of quantum mechanics and trying to build a quantum compute. It won't be based on transistors. It will be based on particles in a superposition state. And the say is that a single system with few qubits can be stronger than all CPU that we have power that we have combined today in the world. Third force that I will mention is, of course, the bandwidth. We need to transfer data from point A to point B. We need to make fast decisions based on this data available. So technology today is allowing that, surely with the integration of 5G and other tools to improve it. But we will see the impact of quantum mechanics also in that matter, when physicists are claiming that we'll be able to show simultaneously data in 2 points of the world at the same time, of course. The fourth force, and maybe the most important one, is the development of the mathematics and the algorithms. Today we are teaching our computers how to learn by themselves, how to write their own algorithms, how to develop. And the set of tools created in the recent years for organization to integrate to their solutions and services is amazing, and it's continuing to available. So what we'll see in the future, little to no human intervention in some processes that we are seeing today. So all of this is creating a perfect storm that allowing and creating actually a demand from research facilities, enterprise organizations, and more high-tech companies that are trying to integrate and understanding the potential of predictive tools such as AI. Well, let me route back to the first force that I mentioned, and I think it's one of the most important one, the fuel of AI, the data. Data has become the capital of the organization, such as human capital, such as operations, such as contracts. Data is, some say, the most valuable capital in the organization today. In a world where digitized services are determining the market share again and again, no organization should feel secure about his business. And you need to take preemptive actions to be in front of your customers and to better understand the market. Basically today, the expectation from organization is to respond to the market and to the customers very fast and be ahead in the thinking. So we need to make sure that we are enabling the organization on every level to support the organization to continue and grow. As we are digitizing more and more services, it comes with its own sets of challenges. We need to handle security, we need to handle data protection, we need to handle data governance and policy and regulation compliances. So what I'm seeing, and what I've experienced throughout the years, is that as customers maturing from traditional analytics to more advanced analytics, they will usually find that infrastructure that is designed and built to a certain analytics won't serve them for a different one. So traditional analytics operate on structured data and perhaps gigabyte scale. Machine learning is already getting to terabytes of data because of the training models that it needs to imply, and surely deep learning is getting even to a petabyte scale. So data is growing, and we need to allow the data to be approachable for the different models to run so we can get the right type of predictions. Make no mistake, in a world where more and more services are being digitized, it's determining winners and losers. No CTO, CIO, IT manager can sit comfortable in their chair thinking that their business is protected. There's challenges to any scale of organization today due to the changes and newcomers to the market with smart algorithms. So organizations are expected to react instantly, to react to the market, to react to the customers, and to take preemptive actions at a time. As we are growing and more services are becoming digitized, we see a new set of challenges. Data will continue to grow in organizations and they will continue to collect the data. Second is to consolidate all the data silos in the organization, because it's very important that the data will be available. The third thing that we are seeing a lot is, of course, to make the data approachable in any protocol. One analytic tool might use certain protocol, the other will use different protocol, and in many cases you will want to combine, so you need the same data to be approachable. Another issue is, of course, how to maintain the service level, how to solve the performance requirements. It's a different approach from one type of analytic and compute structure to another. Sometimes you need to solve some bottlenecks, and that all together with the knowledge that we are collecting from years of experience, we are architecturing ready solution for you out of the box with enterprise grade level abilities. So to build production grade AI solution, they'll consider 4 key factors: performance, bandwidth, multi-protocol, data approach, and data tiering. The performance and scale capabilities of Isilon and ECS enable the enterprise to strike the optimal balance among cost, capacity, footprint, and performance. We have collaborated with leading partners in AI industry, such as Intel, Cloudera, NVIDIA, to ensure we provide you with the best sets of tools by joining engineering, service, and support. Thank you for being here today. Please approach your account executive or any of our certified partners to have meaningful discussion about your AI journey and the set of tools you're going to integrate. We will be happy to take part in this journey with you.
Fivetran is the market leader in automated data integration. So we provide ready-to-use connectors that adapt as schemas and APIs change to ensure reliable data access. The fundamental mission of Fivetran is to make access to data as simple and reliable as electricity. So that is the North Star. That's what we're working towards, unlocking all of the enterprise value that you have across all of the different data sources in your company, and then having that available to analyze. So a bit of background and context into the business. So some more about Fivetran. So founded in 2012, we just have over 350 employees, and we've just reached the 1,000+ customer mark. Some of the key investors you'll see: Andreessen Horowitz, Matrix Partners. We've just received Series C funding in July, which is really funding our international growth efforts. And then you'll see some of notable customers that we have on the right-hand side who've worked with us in order for them to centralize and automate their data setup so they can analyze their data better. So what is the problem that Fivetran is solving for? So the problem is centralizing data, and it's a legacy problem that has been around for 30 years, ever since the genesis of databases. So as we've grown over time, we've seen the rise of cloud-based modern data warehouses, giving companies full and compute power to their analytics setup and stack. So this is the fundamental problem that this has given rise to. So you'll see on the left-hand side all of the operational systems that businesses would run across all of the different functional areas and use cases. You'll see a CRM platform, a service desk platform, a core platform database, a financial system. So there's customer data residing in all of these operational systems. And it's an acute business challenge to extract that and then to provide a holistic view of their end customer across all of these systems through one common source of truth. So the problem is extracting the data from all of those different systems, loading it into a modern data warehouse where there's significant compute power in order to run pretty heavy duty analytics, and then ultimately to run things like internal analytics through business intelligence tools like Looker and Tableau, who Fivetran partner very closely with, through things like data sharing, so enabling your business to be data driven and having access across the company to data sets that you want. Then there's other use cases like data products and AI. So if you have if you have an AI product and you would like to extract information from your endpoints or the end clients' systems, we can white label Fivetran and help you do that. And then ultimately as well for operational systems. To dig one level deeper, the problem then exists in extracting the data, and traditional approaches to ETL, or extract, transform, and load, have become too labor intensive and brittle. So we've mapped out what the ETL process looks like here on the screen. And as you can see, it actually comprises a lot of different things for what is essentially one business challenge. So you'll see that in order to connect a source system to a data warehouse, there's 6 steps. First is an API call. Second is you have to design the schema, write the CSV, prepare the destination for load, normalize the data, load it into the warehouse, and then finally to merge that with SQL in order for you to run some queries. So there's obviously a lot that can go wrong in this process. It takes a lot of time. It's very brittle. These things can change when APIs change or when schemas change. And this is a legacy issue. So we know that in the past, there's been fragmented approaches across the business, giving rise to data silos. There's no real single clear winner. So we can see that there's many different use cases for your data across all of your different operational systems. And you'll see them mapped out here. And it's not threaded or knitted together in any way. So you'll see that maybe some subset of your data is going to a data warehouse for analytics or for AI ML. There's automation behind that. Then let's say for your production systems, there's custom code extracting customer data, financial data in your internal analytics, your BI tool, and there's federated queries across all of these operational systems. Let's say if you have an AI or an ML aspect to your business or to one of your products, extracting data into a data lake that sits on top of that is again another use case. And then also for data sharing. So if you want a board report, you would need a CSV file of all of the data that's coming from all of your operational systems. So clearly that's not sustainable. There needs to be more automation involved in this process because that can become very challenging to sustain. So what is the solution? So Fivetran, we think about changing ETL and introducing the concept of ELT, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. But to give you an understanding, Fivetran provide pre-built automated connectors. And there's 3 reasons why that's incredibly important in extracting and loading data from source to destination. First of all, Fivetran is automated. So we create and maintain a perfect replica of your data. So we think about transformations should be post-load, taking advantage of the compute power of your data warehouse and having the ability to have that full understanding of your data through a perfect replica. And that's obviously, there's minimal user intervention in that. So introducing automation into that process means you don't have to re-engineer pipelines if they break down. It just works. Secondly is data resiliency, which is incredibly important for companies. We have an idempotent core architecture that makes Fivetran very resilient and possible for devs all of the all of the world to write these high quality connectors. And then thirdly, we're deployed in the cloud. We're cloud born, cloud native. We're constantly monitoring and fixing our code as sources change. So as I mentioned, there's a distinct difference in methodology and philosophy and how we think about this process. So you'll see on the left-hand side is the classic or legacy ETL process, in that you would extract data from applications, files, events, and other sources. You would transform that preload. So you take a subset of your data, then load it into the data warehouse, ultimately for visualization in a BI tool. Now, that is inefficient because we believe there's too much customization involved in that process. There's too much transformation preload. So you're not getting access to all of your data so that you can then start to visualize it across all of the source systems. So obviously with the proliferation of these cloud-based data warehouses, we have the ability to go to this more modern data stack setup and change it to an extract, load, and transform way of extracting data. So you'll see on the right-hand side, extracting all of the data from all of your sources, loading it into your data warehouse in an exact replica, transforming it within the warehouse, and then visualization is done through your BI tool of choice. So as you can see, you have access to much more data. There's much more querying power, compute power behind that in order for you to get a much better understanding and holistic view of your data across all of these systems. So that's how we think about automated data integration. So what does the future hold then for things like Fivetran and data centralization? So this is how we would see the future for data-driven applications. So providing that single stable foundation to extract, load, and transform your data across all of your different operational systems through a fully managed, automated, and zero maintenance connector. So this is how we envisage analytics in the future, and how it will become most efficient for businesses. So you'll see we'll have all of your source systems at the bottom, Fivetran as the ELT layer, extracting and loading that data into your warehouse of choice, so that you can then use all of this data for any different use case that you require. So instead of having it federated, there's one single source, one single layer, allowing you to do all of this. So whether it be data warehouses, whether it be production systems, internal analytics, or BI, any AI applications, or indeed data sharing. So now we have access to a perfect replica of all of your data that's consistently and automatically updating as schemas change and APIs change, so that you can use your data for any of these different use cases. So that's Fivetran, how we think about automated data integration. Now I'd like to show you for the remaining 5 minutes of exactly what I was speaking about. So to give you an understanding of the Fivetran UI, so I'll just log into my account now. So this is a overview of the Fivetran user interface. So the first thing that you would do is you would connect your data warehouse. In this case, it's a Snowflake account that I've connected to this demo environment. Once that's connected, I can then start to look at what connectors that I want to add in. So we have 150 plus pre-built connectors across many different functional areas of a business, and you can have a look, whether it be applications like Facebook ads, whether it be file storage like an S3 bucket or a GCS bucket, all the way through to databases. So we can provide a link or connection from a database into your data warehouse to fully start to visualize that data in a much more robust way. So just to give you an example of a pre-built connector for an application that we support. So let's say take a Salesforce account, we authorize that through API. I'm currently logged in to my Salesforce account, so this should authenticate. That's all authenticated now. We have full setup guide on the right hand side showing you how to actually set up Salesforce. Can now save and test. So that's going to connect to the API. It's going to pull across all of my data, my schemas, my tables and my columns, to help me understand which tables, columns, and schemas that I want to bring across into my data warehouse. So I can select, deselect, I can block, or I can hash columns also. So just take a few moments to extract that data. And once that's done, all the connection tests have passed. I can now view the connector, and I can start to select the data that I want to sync into my destination. So I review my schema. It's going to fetch all of the data schema from Salesforce. There'd be account, lead, opportunity, contact records, and so on and so forth. So you can select, deselect the tables that you want to bring across, save and continue. So I want to bring across an exact replica of all of my Salesforce data. And once I select start initial sync, that will start the initial historical sync of all of the data, and then start to load that into my data warehouse. Now also we have a sync frequency, so you can, any new or changed data, we have incremental batch updates, so you can sync that at a time frequency of your choice, and that's available in the setup feature here. So there's sync frequency bar, so you can have it as seldom as 24 hours or as quickly as every 5 minutes. We have full documentation on all of our connectors available at fivetran.com. We have full overview of our schema diagrams too, through an entity relationship diagram map, so you can see exactly the format at which the schema will come across for analytics purposes. And they're available to view for all of our connectors on, as I said, on fivetran.com. And then just to show you as well, we do offer a transformation within the Fivetran user interface. So we can have a connection with DBT, data build tool, which a lot of companies are using, and an outsource platform in order for you to run transformations on your data. So we can sync with your Git repository for that. We also have native DBT packages for all of our connectors as well. So allowing you to run transformations post-load through the Fivetran UI to make it much easier for and simpler for you. We also have a logging service, so you can log to any one of your logging services that you would use. We have a native Fivetran logging service as well. So that is a whistle-stop tour of Fivetran, how we work, how we operate, how we think about automated data integration and centralization. I'd be very keen to understand some of your own specific business challenges and also outline where Fivetran can help. As I said, I covered the Israeli territory here at Fivetran, and hopefully allow you to unlock some of these AI ML use cases that you're interested in today. So as I said, I will send across my information to you after the presentation with my email address. Very keen to understand, as I said, more about your business and to help you understand how Fivetran can help. But that's everything for today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Much appreciated. My name is Aina Kenny, and I will speak to you very, very, very soon. Thanks again.
Hi, did you know that according to a research by Buffer conducted after COVID started, 99% of people would like to remain working remotely for at least a few days a week? My name is Jonathan Sarusi. I'm the Director of Engineering and Site Lead for Dropbox Israel. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a big shift that's happening in the way we work. It's happening as we speak, the move to distributed work. I'll also discuss how Dropbox can make a big difference in the way you work, even given these very challenging changes. Now, many of you know Dropbox. You might even already have your files, photos, or documents living in Dropbox. What you might not know is that Dropbox is a content collaboration platform. We provide tools that help teams prioritize, get organized, and keep work moving safely. My team is focused on Dropbox Business, where we're developing the solutions and features to support people at work. With Dropbox, you can work on any content of any type with your team members, while all of your comments, changes, and communication related to a particular workflow all remain within one place, always accessible for you from any device and essentially anywhere. So let's get started. I want to cover 3 things with you. First, the importance of the cloud as a central place to work out of in this new world. Second, why we think and why we're hearing from customers that flexibility is key to making the distributed work model work. And we'll wrap up with an example of e-signature to showcase how all of these come together very nicely. So before we move on, just a bit of context. We cannot do this without addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, which has impacted the entire world, and the world of business is no exception. Digital transformation, which was already on the rise, this year it's just getting accelerated tremendously. The process has just catapulted itself, and we're seeing the implications of it all over the place. How so? How much of the transformation is this? Well, 88% of business organizations all over the world have either mandated or encouraged their employees to go to work from home, to work remotely. Upwork study revealed that 73% will have remote workers by 2028. It does seem like pretty far out, but believe me, it'll be faster than we anticipate. The bottom line is that distributed work is here to stay. This is something that we need to acknowledge, and we need to prepare ourselves. And it also has great benefits. Distributed work will not only bring flexibility to the working lives of individuals who already report the same or higher levels of productivity while working remotely, but it will also help companies be more agile. Companies will be able to recruit based on competency alone. The best candidate for the job without the constraint of needing the person to be in a particular location or appear in the office every day from morning till the afternoon. In these much unprecedented times and the shifting in the workplace with the acceleration of the digital transformation, the move towards a more distributed workplace, tech is playing a big role in these changes, even more so than in the past. We have made some quick fixes to enable remote work, like changing VPN structures, putting video conferencing in place, and making inbox capacities a bit higher. But these are more short-term changes. What a lot of people are thinking about is what are the long-term things that we need to adopt, that we need to do as companies in order to ensure success in this model in the long term. And now more than ever, the cloud is key in enabling us to work in this distributed model. And in order to adopt the cloud, we need to replace on-premises file servers. This is obviously key and super important. There are on average 347 terabytes of data, according to our IDC, on average on every enterprise. This is huge and obviously very important. And that data is rarely ever in one place. Or in a single format, definitely not on a single server. So it's not surprising that poor data management costs enterprise businesses an estimate of $1.3 billion per year for each one of these companies. A concrete example of how things can work better is Clear Channel, an international branding and advertising firm who's been a customer of Dropbox since early 2017. For them, the primary business drive to move to the cloud with Dropbox was a suite of 63 failing on-premises servers, an increase in downtime, regular outages, and the need to enhance collaboration in a secure manner. For Clear Channel, migrating to the cloud with Dropbox meant saving $300,000 per year and enabling a collaborative solution already used by their employees while keeping their company safe and secure by being able to manage it. Moving your data to the cloud can reduce IT spend. It can help you shift costs toward cultural shifts that we need to do in the organization in order to become more flexible. And flexibility is key. There are over 500,000 professional teams using Dropbox. As an R&D leader here in Israel, I get to speak to a lot of them all the time. And all of these customers are telling us that in this new paradigm, enabling collaboration as well as flexibility and choice for their employees will be key to future success. And flexibility can be found in three main factors: place, time, and tools. Starting with place, in distributed workforces, people are working either from home or really just from anywhere over the world. And they're building their own workspace around them, rather than having one imposed on them by their companies. Now, the collaboration is, of course, key in this environment for distributed teams. People need to communicate, coordinate projects, exchange ideas, and quite simply just work together, despite the fact that they're not physically in one space. They also pick and choose whether to work together in real time or asynchronously. This is why Dropbox comments, versions, and changes are always up to date. Whether you're ready to work, when you're ready to work with your team members, you can see their progress. We also offer choices of many collaboration tools, such as Dropbox Paper, Zoom, or Slack. It's all about tool selection here for what people want to use when they want to collaborate. A great customer example of time and place flexibility is Lonely Planet. By definition, employees at Lonely Planet work from all of the four corners of the world, sometimes very remote places where little 4G connectivity is even available. With hundreds of content creators covering 350,000 travel destinations, Lonely Planet might even have the ultimate remote team. It's quite fascinating. And if you're going to think about it, we all know Lonely Planet, and the connection of it being all over the world is pretty clear. They use Dropbox to bring together field research, photos, and drafts, and prepare them for publishing across the company's various platforms. And they also use Dropbox Paper for real-time collaboration and project management. Now, the third factor is tools. People are also choosing their preferred collaboration and workplace tools. They need to be interoperable and easily work with the software of their peers. When choosing tools nowadays, interoperability is no longer a choice. It's essentially mandatory. And here at Dropbox, we work to enable individual knowledge workers with that flexibility. We're working to allow choice of tools and the best suite and the task for the task that they want to get accomplished. They're essentially enabling them to do the best that they can do at work by picking what they want to work with. Whether they're designers, producers, financial directors, HR professionals, it really doesn't matter. It's all about them and the tool of their choice. We're constantly expanding our open ecosystem, including hundreds of partners like G Suite, Microsoft Office, Adobe, and many others, regardless of the industry or field of expertise. You can get access to the preferred tools that you'd like. Take the Dow Jones, for example. As a Dropbox customer, they have an integration with Okta, Salesforce, Adobe, and Microsoft. And Dropbox helps bridge all of these gaps so that they can get a simple, more connected way of working, which is especially important considering how their data from their 4,000 plus users is spread across different domains and expertise. Now let's bring it all together. E-signatures is a great example of working in the cloud and enabling that full flexibility that we're talking about. Since the outset of the crisis this year, HelloSign, a Dropbox company, has witnessed a significant uptick, and the usage of HelloSign has grew tremendously by 300%. E-signatures is essentially speed to revenue. It speeds up document turnaround time by 80%. It shortens sales cycles by up to 10 days. And it saves around 700 annual hours of work. That's tremendous. It also straightforwardly helps make deals happen. Right now, on average, 15% of documents never get signed. E-signatures improve completion by 26%. And this is why we made HelloSign be integrated into Dropbox so that you can get documents signed as soon as your team finishes collaborating on it. So you see how the integration, the focus on a remote workflow gets very efficient that way. Now, I've shared with you a bit about the value of cloud technology for business continuity today, as well as the unique ecosystem and collaborative capabilities of Dropbox Business, and why e-signature is critical for completing that digital transformation and making that workflow really tick. And we at Dropbox, we try to practice what we preach. You may have heard that we announced recently that we're going virtual first. This means that remote work away from an office will be the primary experience for our employees. But the human connection and maintaining company culture is also very important to us. And while we won't have an office, we will have what we call a Dropbox studio, which is a place that we can meet face-to-face and collaborate. We believe that this gives us the best of both worlds. Flexibility, a level playing field for our employees, and also quality FaceTime, face-to-face time, where we can get together, socialize with one another, and maintain our company culture. And this will help us make the technology that we're building and the products that we're building for this brave new world become even better. Now, obviously, each company is facing the changes to the work environment from a unique perspective, and each company needs to take its own measures and steps. And yet there are some truths that hold true for all. The people that make up any workforce need flexibility, time to focus on the work that matters, and be equipped with the right tools to get the work done. If we empower people this way, we believe that we're setting companies up for success. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Nir Rosenfeld and I'm the Vice President of Sales at Cyber 2.0. I will be presenting the Cyber 2.0 solution for you today. Cyber 2.0. Our company was founded 5 years ago. The founders of the company is Herzl Ozer and Erez Kaplan. Herzl used to be the leading CEO of many companies in Israel. The last one of them is Hot Communications. Erez used to be the senior advisor for Microsoft, and he consults today to the Israeli Standard Institute about cyber regulations. We have a great advisory board comprised of Major General Professor Isaac Ben Israel, which is the initiator of the Cyber Authority at the Prime Minister's office in Israel. From the United States, we have Professor Bryson Ronald Payne. He is the head of the Cyber Center at the University of North Georgia. So what do? We give total defense against the spread of all cyber attack, including new and unknown ones, within and outside organizational network. We don't miss any new attack because we don't have to identify it. We don't rely on detection to do prevention. And our system is built in a manner that even if you remove me from an infected computer, I continue protecting the network. AI. What do we do in AI? Well, we are using state-of-the-art machine-based learning algorithm that enables us to give the IT manager a great insight into their network, allowing them to have different views of the network usage, lateral movement, and more. We use our share-based cloud information to give full automation of dynamic list of all the software that are using network resources. And our AI automatically generate time-based reports to companies, giving them a view of what transpires within the network. So, the problem as we see it, what do we do? Well, in every company, a single computer might be penetrated by a malicious software. But the main damage doesn't come from malicious software infecting a single computer. The main damage comes once that malicious software starts spreading through the network, reaching other computers and other servers. Now, the existing solutions don't really solve that. The existing solutions rely on detection prevention. First, they try to detect every malicious software, and then they try to prevent it. Now, it is commonly known that there can never be 100% detection because you cannot identify all the malicious software that are out there. So if you cannot have 100% detection, you can never have 100% prevention. Furthermore, the biggest disadvantage of defense systems today is they are good as long as they are active. Once a hacker removes them from the infected computer, they are no longer relevant, and the hacker can do whatever he wants. We address that problem in two ways. First of all, we don't rely on detection. We don't have to identify every malicious software in order for us to block it. Second, our system built in a manner that even if you remove me from an infected computer, I continue protecting the network. Our system is based on 9 patents, and we are using chaos mathematical model to do cyber defense. Before we continue, I would like to show you a short movie explaining what is chaos algorithm. Let's see the movie.
What is chaos theory? A branch of mathematics that describes many systems that even when the rules controlling them are known, it is not possible to predict their long-term development. These systems are sensitive to almost zero changes in initial conditions. This phenomenon is called figuratively the butterfly effect. The movement of a butterfly's wings can create a dramatic atmospheric event like a tornado. How does Cyber 2.0 use the chaos theory for its system? We feed all computers with the same chaotic systems. They start with the same formula and the same opening data. The computers work in parallel and communicate with each other only as long as they are on the same pattern. Since chaotic systems are very sensitive, every small change will make a significant change in the result, and therefore, this computer will not be able to communicate with other computers. Moreover, we change the formula and parameters that feed it all the time, so one cannot predict or do reverse engineering. The scramble mechanism is based on a fixed chaos-based certificate, a changing chaos-based certificate, unique time delta, dynamic application list, and on various internal parameters unique for each organization. The Chaos Engine enables Cyber 2.0 to provide total defense.
So, once we understand what is chaos algorithm, now let's see what we did. When we went out to the market, we saw that there were a lot of cyber solutions out there. And every cyber solution salesman says that their solution is the best. We decided to take our system and put it to the public test. We did 3 great hacking challenges. In the hacking challenge, we invited all the hackers to try to penetrate a network that is protected by our system. The hackers had admin user. The hackers had admin password and a legit computer within the network. No one was able to beat the challenge. More advantages about the solution. COVID-19 hit us and hit everyone, and we've recently finished developing a model that enables us to give complete solution for working from home, having employees work from home without having the fear that they might infect the organization with a malicious software. Our system is also able to give you a great network access control, and our system is also compatible to work in IT and OT systems as well. One of the biggest advantages that we do while using AI technology is the enablement to give the customer a risk assessment report, the first one within 14 days. So let's understand what we are doing. So we are an agent-based, and our agent is based on two different models. The first one is monitor. The second one is in defense. I install my agent in the customer, and then I do monitor. In monitor, I do active mapping of everything that uses the network. And after 14 days, I will come to the customer and I will tell him, listen, in your organization, you have 3,000 software installed. Out of them, 2,000 are active. I want to stop the spread of cyber attack. So, out of the 2,000 that are active, only 1,000 are using network resources. I will check the 1,000 software that are using network resources, and I will check them by their MD5, their SHA signature, and other variables that I will explain in a couple of minutes, but I will check to see that they are authenticated. And I will come to the IT manager and I'll tell him, listen, in your organization, 1,000 software are using network resources. 950 of them are okay, but 50 are problematic. 50 are not legitimate, are out of date and should be updated because they have known vulnerabilities, are Trojans, adwares, and so on, and I will show them to you. We will go together on the 50 software that are using network resources, and we will decide which one of them the IT manager knows and approves for them to use network resources. Then we will have the list of all the software that is approved to use network resources by company's policy. In the future of AI, we will have that list based on AI, meaning once the list is authentic, the computer itself will update the list, will check the list, will do everything automatically and alert the customer. For example, if Microsoft Outlook has an upgrade, we are checking the version with Microsoft without even having to do nothing automatically. So let's understand a bit more about what we are doing. This is our patent. It's called the reverse tracking. It's a registered patent. And let's see what we are doing when we are doing the monitor. Every process that comes up, every library file, every DLL file that comes up is being recorded. To better authenticate them, to make sure that I have no disguised application, no DLL injection, no nothing, I take their MD5, their SHA signature, and their size. And I check them within our own engine and within external engines to make sure external engines to make sure that they are authenticated. Furthermore, everything that goes around, I know it. So in every given minute, I'm able to tell the customer, listen, this is all the traffic that you have going through your network. I can show him all the lateral movement. I can show him all the network. I can show him all the Word documents he has going through his network, but I can show them the flow and give him a great forensic of how everything transpires through the network. So we understand what we are doing. Let's see how we are doing it and how we are harnessing the chaos algorithm to give cyber defense. I have two computers on the internal network. I have one infected computer that got infected by malicious software. It happens on a daily basis. Our agent is installed on every computer and every server. My agent is a network filter driver. It sits in layer 4. The agent is built on 3 unique parameters. The first parameter is the list. The same list of all the software that is approved to use network resources sits on every computer and every server. The second parameter is time. Every second I change something within the network. And the third parameter is the same chaos algorithm that we are using. Now let's run this scenario and see what happens. On the infected computer, I have an approved software. It wants to speak with the other computer using port 80. It will reach my agent and I will identify that it is approved to use network resources by company's policy. Once I identify it's approved, I will scramble the port. I will run it through the algorithm and 80 will be scrambled to 10,000. On the other computer and on every other computer within the network, all the traffic that comes in gets descrambled by reverse algorithm. When 10,000 wants to come in, it gets descrambled back to 80 and everything is okay. Now let's simplify this procedure a bit and go down from the mathematical chaos. 80 multiply 10,000, divide back to 80. Basically, we are doing opposite mathematical actions, only instead of multiply and divide, we are using chaos algorithm. Now, the infected computer also has a malicious software on it that wants to speak with the other computer using port 80. It will reach my agent and I will not identify it. I will see that it is not approved to use network resources. If it's not approved, I don't scramble the port, meaning 80 will go out on 80. On the other computer and on every other computer within the network, everything that comes in gets descrambled by reverse algorithm. When 80 will try to come in, it will get descrambled to 4800 and the computer will drop it. Now the second parameter is time, meaning every second I change something, I change the scrambling tables. Every second, the port scrambling system is changed in a completely random way, so no one can do machine learning on me and understand what we are doing. Now, this is what we do within the network, but what happens when I go out of the network? I cannot scramble the ports to the firewall, to switches, to cameras, to any other device that is transmitting data within the network. In order for us to address that challenge, we devised our own unique Vortex gateway. Moving to our known procedure, the good software, the approved software, wants to go out to the internet using port 80, get scrambled to 10,000, come to my gateway, get descrambled to 80 and delivered safely to the firewall. The malicious software that wants to send my data to the internet, wants to connect its hacker creator, wants to also go to the internet. It will try to go out in 80. I see that it is not approved to use, so I will let it go out in 80, come to the gateway, get descrambled to port 4800 and the firewall will drop it. Now the main advantage of this Vortex gateway is we improve and enhance the firewall performance because all the illegitimate traffic is getting descrambled and dropped. And we are able to protect every device that is transmitting data through my network, which I cannot install an agent on it, such as printers, scanners, cameras, water pumps, and so on. More capabilities that I want to address are these. First of all, we have a great forensic capability. We know everything that transpired through the network. We are able to identify every network obscurity that happens because we give full network control. Our system works in a zero trust manner, meaning I don't trust no one to transmit data to the net if it was not approved by me. We have a top-of-the-line solution, EDR. The main difference between us and other EDR solution is EDR by definition is endpoint detect and response. They rely on detection before they can respond. I can respond without having the need to identify everything. Our system is very simple to deploy. It can be on-premise, it can be in the cloud, it can be in hybrid solutions, no problem. Here are a bit of testimonials of some of our customers. The Jerusalem Post, for example, removed all other defense systems after he saw that we can give him the total defense he required. Thank you very much for attending and reaching so far. Since you reached so far, and if we were in a big conference, I would give you a giveaway. The giveaway for today is a virtual one. Everyone that attended this session will be able to receive Cyber 2.0 risk assessment for no charge. You will be able to install Cyber 2.0 system and have a risk assessment report within 14 days, no charge, no obligations. Call us.
Hi everyone, my name is Paweł Świdziński and I am with RTB House, global marketing technology company, which has long been known for leveraging AI deep learning algorithms to engage digital customers, which I believe is even more important this year and can also likely shape the future of display advertising. Let me maybe start with outlining briefly who we are, where do we come from, and whose lives we're actually making easier every day. Then focus on the technology itself, and lastly come up with a few ideas that we have on how to best stand out from the crowd online at the times when basically everyone goes digital. So we are buying hundreds of millions of ad impressions every day on behalf of our advertising partners in the real-time bidding model, hence the company name. And our state-of-the-art innovative technology has been doing it so well that we've been repeatedly honored with multiple global awards, be it for the technology itself or as one of the fastest growing technology companies in Europe for years now. We partner with over 2,000 trusted leading global retail brands online, mainly in the form of various types of e-shops, marketplaces, but also other verticals like price comparisons websites, classified ad portals, as well as in-app advertising, for example, car hailing, food delivery services, or mobile gaming apps. We are operating today from over 30 permanent office locations on uninhabited continents and serving clients on more than 80 markets across EMEA, APAC, and the Americas regions. Now also scaling up also our presence and cooperations with the growing Israeli online retail market. We also cover on average 95% of available ads inventory supply, partnering with all major ads placements suppliers, which is at the same time one of our key core competitive advantages and a great source of reach and scale for the campaigns of the advertisers that partner with us and trust us. So in essence, we've been relatively well positioned for what happened in 2020, which will long be remembered as the momentous and turbulent year that seemingly have disrupted the retail landscape and habits for good. While the digital economy arises from the COVID crisis as a clear and most probably sustainable winner, as in these circumstances everyone must go online, which has been evidenced by leading traditional retailers shutting down their brick and mortar stores, or an extra $100 billion injection into the industry. And it will almost certainly remain so also for the key Q4 quarter, and maybe even for the foreseeable future, with increasing mobile touchpoints role. Israel was no exception to this paramount trend, entering as the first advanced economy into second wave lockdown, which has only been relaxed lately. But as every crisis does, also the coronavirus crisis is likely to bring both threats and opportunities at the same time, especially a jump in online sales can be leveraged wisely. So not only is there today plenty of new e-shops or online marketplaces appearing every day, every week, but also already thousands of active MarTech solutions providers, which we are competing with. So with such a bewildering amount of online competitive activities, both advertisers and marketing companies serving them need to join forces to, as the challenge we are facing can only be overcome with the innovation matching the magnitude of the changes happening. So we need to cooperate to provide smooth hyper-relevance to online consumers, like visitors, shoppers, buyers, to win their loyalty, as the necessity remains the mother of invention here. So RTB House owes its success mainly to our proprietary, entirely deep learning algorithms fueled advertising, but it is also complemented with quite a few ideas on how to stand out from the crowd otherwise, for example, by delivering dynamically personalized experience at every step of the digital customer journey. Our secret sauce and core competitive advantage is the end-to-end application of deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning that helps us to analyze and answer in real time the key marketing questions, like, for example, what should be displayed to whom, when, and for how much in the auctions model. And as it was evidenced already in 2017 by AlphaGo, those things go well beyond what's achievable by humans, which is also reflected in our long-term clients' retention rate exceeding 90%. Maybe another more illustrative and convincing example might be comparing the today's autonomous deep learning powered vehicles with the machine learning technology that stood behind the Deep Blue supercomputer in as early as in 1997, which already seems like a prehistoric times today. but it was already back then still able to beat the then chess world master Garry Kasparov. So that's the progress that has been made over the recent decades. Overall, the trailblazers across many industries are nowadays leveraging deep learning applications to realize their most ambitious goals, and also achieving what has long seemed unsolvable before. So maybe sticking to the online sales application processes, this is what we do with at RTB House with online display ads. So what was seemingly erratic or random user behavior, like in the case of a person who is like hurriedly shopping now for a gift, for example, new headphones for a friend. So this behavior traditionally could be treated as chaotic, while now actually deep learning can make sense of these behaviors, and it can lead to a strong buying recommendation with high probability of conversion at a particular specific store that is of interest to us. Being the world's first MarTech armed with 100% deep learning algorithms in all our products, we are able to achieve up to 30% better campaigns performance. And just to provide a little bit more numbers regarding the scale of what's happening here, we are, for example, analyzing up to 2,500 times more operations, making 2,500 times more operations leading to purchase decision, or placing 4.5 million queries per second during the auctions happening. And this is only, again, possible due to our stable, efficient, and scalable technology. Not only are we able to show the user the products that have been viewed by but by himself or herself or by the other users, and which seems best performing in their cases, but also we can even convince the user to buy what they had not been thinking about before. So we are actually the engine can maybe not create, but unveil the hidden need of the user, and make us sell to him something which he or she was not originally looking for. So the technology is one way for us to stand out from the crowd and engage digital customers these turbulent times. Another idea might be, for example, making the journey itself as exciting and relevant with personalized creatives that it can possibly be. It all starts with knowing and recognizing in real time where a particular user is at the moment in terms of their purchasing decision, or what's the challenge with acquiring them right now. And then we know whether we should rather focus on addressing brand unawareness issue, or trying to engage with users more and try to learn directly from them, or just focus on selling to them straight away if that's the right moment. This can be done based on first-party data and hidden layer data. As a result, we are able to design individual experiences and adjust our goals so that they are achievable and measurable and relevant enough to move the user down the funnel, which is in most cases the ultimate goal for our partners, our advertising partners. It is of utmost importance, as more often than not, other marketing solutions providers are pushing performance ads at the wrong moment when the user is completely uninterested in buying anything. So it can easily be translated into ad fatigue, irritation, and even lasting negative connotations with the brand, which we want to avoid. On the other hand, however, while knowing the right moment to sell to the clients or to serve them softer forms of communication before, like inspirational videos, we can effectively build lasting brand connection so that we are the brand is remembered for the right time to come when the user is ready, instead of feeling of being forced into actions in a bad mood. So we are able, by combining only our data and our partners' data, to clearly distinguish between the user who is only occasionally visiting a particular website and showing hardly any specific engagement signs, from the user who is very likely to convert soon with a high value order, becoming effectively the buyer. Last but not least, knowing one picture, as they say, is worth more than 1,000 words, which resounds even stronger today and can even be extrapolated into something along the lines of one video is worth more than 1,000 pictures. Let's see some exemplary ideas of ours on how to visually engage users more and more as well. So in the upper funnel, we're rather focusing on personalized storytelling with video or casual chat banners to inspire the users and raise the brand or a particular selected product's awareness. Somewhere in the middle of the journey, we engage users in an interaction and try to learn more directly from them to get feedback, which can in turn later be used by the algorithms to become even more effective. For example, based on social banners, like liking or disliking our products, inside banners, searching boxes within the banners, zipping the banners, or even sharing them with your social media friends. And at the end of the day, as performance is where do we come from originally, we need to sell. So it is particularly important during the upcoming promo periods like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. And interestingly, our 8 years of experience taught us that the most fancy videos used at the awareness stage are actually less effective lower in the funnel than regular template banners. So even if we prepare such dedicated creatives, which we often do, the smart engine sooner or later will realize it should stop displaying them after a few weeks or so. And lastly, also the context matters, and we need to bear in mind the brand image protection as well. And we want to avoid a situation when the brand is displaying its ads in the context of articles with strongly negative connotations, like in the examples on the slide. So with the help of our contextual AI and natural language processing, RTB House multiple layers brand safety mechanism avoids placements like the ones presented on the slide, keeping the brand safe. So to recapitulate, deep learning has enabled us to increase brand awareness and loyalty with the right audience by recognizing their position in the funnel in real time, serving them personalized creatives which are relevant at the moment. And that, together with our transparent and flexible reporting, as well as efficient budget allocation, and last but not least, delivering outstanding ROAS at scale, allows us to look into the future with a peace of mind. So that's pretty much it as for this brief session. Feel welcome at our booth to explore more, and let's discuss also your insights and your ideas on how to stand out from the crowd these days. Thank you very much.
Hello, hi, my name is Ella Rosenberg. Today I'm going to discuss artificial intelligence in the financial industry in the European Union. The EU approach to artificial intelligence is not a very diligent one. Currently, there's not a single decision, directive, or regulation when it comes to the harmonization of laws of artificial intelligence in the EU. However, a communication was issued by the European Commission in order to encourage for both the financial sector in the EU, in the governmental aspect and the private aspect, to uptake artificial intelligence as a diligent manner that should be respected. With that said, there is immense need of artificial intelligence for financial institutions. Financial institutions in the European Union are defined as banks, electronic money institutions, which are also called EMIs, cryptocurrency exchanges, and other financial institutions that are considered to be regulated under their respective regulators in the member states. These financial institutions are licensed under their respective EU regulators and are due regulatory reporting on a monthly and yearly basis. It has become increasingly difficult for these financial institutions to keep up with the regulatory requirements of the financial regulators, especially if it comes to reporting duties. It would be beneficial not only for the financial industry to uptake artificial intelligence as a means of communication, but it will also be beneficial for the financial institutions to use artificial intelligence as a reporting tool for the regulators. With that said, it is also quite crucial for the financial regulators to uptake artificial intelligence. The EU regulators are defined as the European Central Bank, which is also called the ECB, ESMA, which is the European Securities and Markets Authority, member state regulators, member state central banks, and financial intelligence units, which are also called FIUs. EU law in this respect governs everything. In that sense, it is important for those regulators to uptake financial, banking, anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, and in certain cases, FATF recommendations, and transpose them to the member state level. The regulators are overloaded with financial regulatory reports on a constant basis. In addition, due to new anti-money laundering requirements issued by the European Commission, some member state regulators and financial intelligence units are not withholding their own mandated deadlines. This is currently the situation in Estonia. And an eye approach for these regulators and for these submissions will not only help the financial regulators in withholding their own mandated deadlines, but it will also ease communications with the financial institutions which are regulated by them and the European Commission. In certain cases, it can also lead to a better communication with the European Parliament and the European Council as a whole. To conclude, the EU financial regulators and the private enterprises, which are financial institutions in the EU, in addition to FIUs and financial intelligence units, member states, central banks, should uphold an AI system in order to maintain their own current and basic EU law requirements when it comes to the banking industry. Furthermore, financial institutions which are mandated to submit their financial regulatory reports would receive great benefit from using an AI system. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hisham Abdul Halim. I'm the staff PM at Intuit AI, based in Israel. One of the key components of our missions is to provide the best experience to our customers by allowing them to power prosperity across the world. We're thinking how to use AI, machine learning, and data, and combine them together in order to power those experiences. Modern AI systems are increasingly capable of tracking and tackling real-world problems. Look at the massive data that we use every day. Look at the massive amounts of data that we create every day. Taking into consideration the variety of channels and online services and AI-driven applications that are installed across our devices. One of the key nature of black box AI is to make these decisions without providing any reason. Yet could be that the algorithm was originally planned to achieve a specific goal or an objective. Yet most of these algorithms are unexplainable, not only to the customers, but also in many cases to the company itself. XAI, or explainable AI, is an evolving phenomenon or concept that addresses three main areas. Let's look at the first one, the legal and the compliance part, where new regulations such as GDPR come in place and require companies to provide the right of explanations to the customers while using these online services. The second one, which connects somehow to the first one, is actually driving and striving towards ethical AI or fair AI, where the idea of reflecting these concepts and the values in your AI is something that could prevent social biases and any other type of bias. The third area, which is definitely very important, is the idea of providing and giving high quality service, where the idea of explaining your decisions could lead to lower and reduction of false positives and better accuracy of your online service. Academic and industrial researchers actually indicate how ethical tools such as XAI and implementing them while developing your software is something that impacts end quality of your product. The idea of having a right approach towards customer-centric development processes, actually XAI sets a new bar and provides a new platform to developing and enhancing the quality of your services. We truly believe that XAI impacts our model performance as explanation help pinpoint issues in data and future behaviors. It makes better decisions as explanation provide added info, confidence, and act wisely and decisively. With that said, XAI and implementing XAI as an ethical tool during the development lifecycle of these models actually requires another layer of attention, with the concept of having different explanations in place due to the fact that the different interfaces actually require different types of explanations. Explanations that are being used and consumed by data scientists or product managers is not the same ones that are being shown to customers and consumed by customers. With the idea of having transparent AI and reliable AI and impactful AI, global explanations versus local explanations could differ, and the idea of having services such as XAI during the development of the license actually aces the process of mapping these explanations to the right areas. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to reach out via email or via LinkedIn.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Bishop. I'm a TEDx speaker, a LinkedIn Learning instructor, and former IBMer. Delighted to be speaking with you today at the Future of AI conference. So welcome. I'm passionate about the power of emerging technology to positively influence business and culture. So let's jump in. I want to share with you a historical perspective. I think when talking about the future, it's always good to think about the past. Share with you a little bit of the current state of AI, some perspective from executives, give you some ideas about how companies large and small are using AI, both multinationals and startups, what that landscape looks like. Then talk to you about some real-world use cases, how companies and organizations are actually using artificial intelligence across a range of disciplines and verticals. And then close with some perspective on what I think is next. And certainly the topic of quantum and AI is top of mind. So let's begin by taking a look at this picture. This is from 1956, the summer of 1956 at Dartmouth, when a professor named John McCarthy led a consortium, a meeting of like-minded academics to talk about the power of machines to replicate the human brain. So he's the one who coined the term artificial intelligence back in 1956. So here we are today, where Andrew Ng, who I describe as the Elvis Presley of artificial intelligence, he's the former chief scientist at Baidu and a co-founder of Coursera. He describes AI as the next electricity, right? The way electricity influenced business and culture over the last 100 years, AI is going to have a similar kind of transformational effect across every business. And I agree. I think he's exactly right. Here's a perspective from a senior executive. This is the gentleman who runs eBay, Devin Wenig, and he says, if you don't have an AI strategy, you're going to die in the world that's coming. Again, the idea that AI is a powerful tool that's applicable across all kinds of business sectors and verticals and industries as well as disciplines. So the thing to keep in mind is that AI is a constellation, right? It's not one thing. It ranges from things like Siri and Google Home, Google Assistant, right, to IBM Watson, which is basically a room full of Power 7 servers sitting in a refrigerated compartment in the basement of Yorktown Heights, IBM's research center. IBM's AI machine Watson, as you probably remember, crushed the Jeopardy Grand Champion several years ago with remarkable power to answer those questions quickly and accurately. Lots of big companies, certainly tech giants, are investing in AI. Here's just a sampling, right? Apple is doing it, Microsoft, Facebook, IBM, certainly, as I mentioned. Salesforce has a tool to help sales teams capture and manage data using AI. And Google, for sure. They have a practice area, which I'll talk about in a little more detail later on. This is a view from a company called CB Insights, a research firm. It's their AI 100 list. So it shows companies that are emerging, startups in the AI space across, again, a range of disciplines. So across the top, you have verticals like healthcare, finance and insurance, transportation, construction, retail. And then along the bottom, you have sort of process specific. So natural language processing, sales and CRM, cybersecurity certainly is a big focus for applying AI, DevOps and model monitoring, process management. So this is the range, right? There's lots and lots of companies, and this is just a sampling, just a picture that they put together. I highly recommend CB Insights, by the way, terrific research company. Top verticals, I mean, it's generally conceded that these are the areas where AI and machine learning are going to have an impact initially to a large degree. So financial services, again, because machines can manage portfolio data and perform optimization processes as well or better or in conjunction with real humans. Healthcare, they've determined that AI instances can already read scans and test results more accurately than trained physicians. So again, working in adjunct with doctors, these are helpers, not replacements. They can analyze the myriad of journals that are published every week. Some number like 1,200 periodicals related to any specific medical area are published every week. There's no way a working doctor can read and capture and analyze and rationalize that kind of data. And managing back-end processes, billing and discovering test results and reporting them. So retail, tracking inventory and managing supply chain across the whole breadth of processes tied to retail. And manufacturing, GE already has the Industrial Internet of Things, where they're using sensors on the product manufacturing line to detect flaws and stop the line and suggest changes or improvements. It's going to impact how vehicles are manufactured and a range of other manufacturing related activities. Let me give you an example here. So Google obviously has many server farms, data centers, right? It costs a lot of money to run. They use a lot of electricity, a lot of power to both heat and cool them. So they're using AI, and they've purportedly saved 40% in energy costs, which in terms of dollars and cents represents hundreds of millions of dollars in the long term in savings, and obviously improved efficiency as well. This is one of my favorite companies called Narrative Science. It's led by a professor at Northwestern University in Chicago. They've created an AI instance that turns data like spreadsheets into prose, into text, into readable, shareable content with a much broader use and availability than just a bunch of spreadsheets, right? This is a quote from a managing director at Deloitte who says that narrative science lets us more efficiently sift through large amounts of data and bring out insights more quickly. Here's an example. So they put together a document that looks like this, sort of like include tags on a website, right? It's pulling data from a spreadsheet and generates a piece of content that looks like this, right? Using the data that's captured somewhere behind the scenes in a SQL database or whatever, Excel, who knows where they're keeping it, and then it publishes it into this kind of format. Again, making data that's arcane and with limited use and applicability much more broadly available and able to impact both business results and have an impact on culture and society. This is one of my favorite companies too, Next IT. So this is a company that builds conversational AI-powered virtual assistants and enterprise chatbots. And again, they build them for a range of companies across different verticals. Alaska Airlines is a big client to help with customer service. Charter Communications, a large cable provider in the U.S., communications company, really. And even the U.S. Army is using these kinds of AI-enabled chatbots to help interaction with their users and customers. Transmetrics is one of the largest logistics companies in the world, and they're using AI tools for predictive optimization. Their SVP says Transmetrics cleans data and makes it usable to create unexpected benefits for our dispatchers and managers alike. Again, demand forecasting, predictive optimization, all powered by an AI tool. Ag tech, you may have heard of it, you may have seen it, you may be familiar with it. John Deere, one of the largest manufacturing companies in the United States, is creating high-tech self-driving tractors, right? The guy doesn't have his hands on the wheels, you can see in the picture. This machine features auto steering, but also an app that analyzes the crops and tells them what's going on in their fields. Do these need fertilizer? Do they need watering? Are they being deprived of sunlight? What's the status? One of my favorites, AI and online shopping. So Stitch Fix, a company based in San Francisco, uses AI to deliver customized, personalized clothing. You send them your measurements. They have an app that uses the phone to capture your various measurements, and you send it to them, and then you pick a style that you like, and they send you clothing, and you keep the ones you like, and you send the ones you don't like back. It's quite an innovative model. They're doing very well. Let's think about what's coming. So quantum, obviously, qubits instead of bits and bytes, the ability to leverage quantum mechanics and quantum physics to transform how computing is conducted, if you will, how data is captured and managed and manipulated. So Google is very focused on this, as are other companies. Amazon just announced an offering called Bracket, which provides cloud-based quantum computers that run any of a wide range of qubits, depending on what kind of algorithm you're comfortable with or what kind of problem you're looking to solve. They claim, and I think it's fair to say, that quantum algorithms are going to dramatically accelerate computational tasks for machine learning. They're offering open source frameworks and computing power, as is IBM, and they're working on quantum neural networks specifically designed to work on quantum processors. This is a logo from the Quantum AI Lab team, and believe me, they're heads down and focused on it. Maybe you're familiar with quantum supremacy. This is a term that I think Professor at Caltech coined, but the implication is that we're coming to a tipping point where quantum computers will be able to do processes that would be unable to be delivered by a classical computer, right? So in September 20th last year, Google claimed that it had in fact achieved quantum supremacy. They put together a processor on their Sycamore quantum computer. The processor took 200 seconds to sample one instance of the quantum circuit 1 million times. And they're claiming that a state-of-the-art supercomputer today would have required 10,000 years to perform the equivalent task. There's some contention about whether this is in fact quantum supremacy and or if it's been achieved, but certainly it's a milestone in the discussion around quantum and AI. Worth noting that public sector organizations, governments, are getting into the act as well. So this is a picture of the Argonne National Laboratory, which is connected to the University of Chicago. And there was a big announcement this summer around the quantum internet. The White House has awarded $760 million over the next 5 years to advance the protocols around quantum and AI. So that's a big number. They're committed. Obviously, IBM, Google, and Intel, other big companies are going to help. Universities are going to play a role as well. But similar activities going on in China. There are quantum initiatives focused on AI in Europe as well. It's a burgeoning field. So this is a quote I think it's worth sharing from the Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago. They say that over the next decade, AI won't replace managers, but managers who use AI will replace those who don't. So I leave you with those words of wisdom from the Harvard Business Review. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Please feel free to reach for me. Let's get connected. I'm on LinkedIn. I always accept connection invitations. You can email me, chris@improvisingcareers.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I have a website where I describe my nonlinear multimodal career path and the workshops that I run at universities called How to Succeed at Jobs That Don't Exist Yet. So thanks again for your time, and let's be in touch. Take care. Bye.
So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this panel, How AI is Becoming a Real Commodity in Today's World. So AI and machine learning have emerged as some of the biggest buzzwords in the world of technology, with organizations embracing these quite enthusiastically. Joining me for this session are some exceptional professionals that are also some of my favorite in the industry. I can tell you that among the five of us, we have nine, I think, engineering, science, or computer science degrees, and that Orna is seriously raising our average. We have with us Orna Berry. She's one of my personal role models and honestly requires no introduction. But just to embarrass her a little bit, she's an entrepreneur, a scientist, a policymaker, and an industry executive. She was the chief scientist. She was the director of the Industrial R&D Administration, co-founded or not, held research position at Unisys and IBM. She was the chair of the board of PrimeSense and a corporate VP and general manager at EMC and Dell. She led a committee to design and set the National Program for Quantum Science and Technology, and separately today co-leads a related subcommittee specifying the computer power infrastructure required for AI. We have Ronen Lavie. He's the co-founder and the CEO of Navina. Ronen spent the last decade managing data science projects and leading the AI lab of the Israeli military intelligence. His focus was developing AI decision support systems for frontline decision makers in real time, based on multiple sources and massive amounts of data. When leaving the military, he decided to take that experience and apply it to the pitfalls of the healthcare system. We also have Rotem Alaluf as the founder and CEO of Beyond Minds, which creates the next generation AI platforms that enable enterprises to bring AI to production with robustness, accuracy, and speed that were previously unimaginable. Rotem is creating more stable and more accurate methods of bringing the power of AI to production in order to create a significant impact for real-world use cases and accelerating AI transformation. Last but definitely not least, we have Philip Tanner. He's the co-founder and CEO of DeepChecks, an extremely exciting startup in the space of MLOps. DeepChecks are building guardrails for machine learning systems by creating algorithms that can automatically check them. Data scientist, and in the past led a top-tier research group that tackled difficult machine learning problems in computer vision, NLP, and more. If that's not enough, he's also a Torpedo graduate. So we've established that we have a great panel with us. Let's start and have fun. I have one question to start with for all of you. We're going to start with Orna. So other than being a buzzword, there seems to be real business behind the buzz. Gartner's CIO survey found that in the last 4 years, I think, AI implementation grew by a massive 270%. So can you share, each from your own perspective, the process that you see organizations going through with AI adoption?
So I will say, briefly, that you need to be digitally mature. The bigger you are, the more space you have to adopt AI. This doesn't mean that it's against startups. It's about adoption of AI. It is about adoption of new technologies. It's about support at the C-level. And it is a preference of growth over saving. And it is about the ability to adopt AI in core activities. And I think those are the principles that differentiate between businesses, and consequently companies like Telcom and up there, where companies that are producing education need to create an individual application per case rather than use an infrastructure and adopt applications as part of a suite. So there is a big differentiation between the systems, and I am extremely critical of what is happening on a national base in the public sector in Israel, and that is something that we can talk about later.
Yeah, we will definitely touch upon that. Ronen, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the best way to show the importance of AI for primary care physician, where Navina is going, it's to go to an example I experienced a few days ago. We were attending a virtual conference. It's a virtual booth. It was quite a strange experience, talking to physicians in their pajamas. But seriously, it was one of the biggest conferences of family physicians led by American Academy of Family Physicians. And on one of the panels we participated was called The Practice of the Future. And it was led by the vice president of the organization. And it was very well described about the age. The first slide that was going in the beginning of the panel was, Stanford University finds that AI is outpacing Moore's law. I think it shows how strongly they feel about the need of AI potential for healthcare, and the AFP represents almost a third of all primary care physicians in the US.
That's interesting. And you think that a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, the perspective was different?
No, I think it took some time. It's going to take some time even from now, but the understanding about the importance of AI and the potential of using AI for doing all kind of things that get for physician burden will be adopted very fast pretty soon.
Yeah, and also with you, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Philip, your thoughts?
Yeah.
Right. So that figure, I have to say, when you said it, it really didn't surprise me. And I think it's very interesting because I think that the difference between last year and this year, if I would look, just at the companies that I end up talking to, I would say that last year was kind of a nutty professor game kind of research thing still. So they did have machine learning models in production, many organizations that I talked to, but a lot of times it felt like it was a quick win. It was something that you had to do kind of to educate internally the organization that you're working with. Now, what I see now with the same people, when I come back to them, let's say a year later and talk to them, they're talking about completely different issues, which are much more, if we talked about, let's say, digital maturity or AI maturity, they talk about missing values in the data coming in and things that have to do with their servers and concept drift. These are the types of issues that come up when you really care about the output of the machine learning model. So I really see some sort of transition from something that's kind of an exploration game to something that's really real products.
Yeah, and probably more to come. Rotem, what about you?
Yeah, so I'll be happy to end this with a suggestion for enterprises today. So my suggestion is for enterprises to start transforming their business as soon as possible. If we are looking back at Fortune 500 lists, for example, of 2 decades ago, about 50% of those listed companies don't exist anymore. A more innovative and more efficient competitor replaced them and become the new market leader. This process happening across all industries as we see it, and will continue to happen. So adopting AI technologies is crucial for enterprises in order to stay competitive and efficient, and it's something that they should start as soon as possible. And now we are in a mature phase of AI that is the right time to go for enterprises, as I see that.
Interesting. Ona, you promised some criticism. So you're heading a committee looking at AI use cases in different government verticals. Can you tell us a little bit about this project? Wait, you're on mute? There always has to be someone on mute in conferences.
No, that's okay. First of all, this committee is not a subcommittee of the previous one. It's a committee that was put together by all the research and development authorities, Ministry of Science and Ministry of Finance, under the TELEM in the Academy of Sciences. So this is important. When I look at the Israeli scene, and in general, when I look at countries, states that adopted the AI, then out of 54 countries, Israel stands in the 12th place. Sounds reasonable, but it ain't so, because in the availability of professionals, it's in the 13th place. Already 13th versus 12, you know that people will be expensive. Then the next item is that the infrastructure in Israel is ranked 36 out of 54. Adoption and operations are 50 out of 54, and a lot of it is in natural language processing. Then comes innovation and research and as well as innovation and development. And this comes in 5th place out of 54, which is great. Then we drop down into 46th place in government policy and into 3rd place, where you belong, in private funding. So discrepancies like that mean that the utilization and the growth factor cannot be as fast as possible. In order for a waterfall model rather than eye of the storm model, that you risk more and you lose more, we need to advance other parts as well. And this applies to education. The potential of people who can go through digital literacy is much higher than actually are going through digital literacy. So when you ask me about what needs to be done, there are core areas in AI, and there is linkage to the data that need to be done in a much better way. And we have seen what has happened with the corona. It needed the intelligence to go in, it needed the various military units to go in, and it hasn't been preserved. They left after the first cycle, and the data went back into the owners like HMOs and such. So the data resources to be shared are vacated, and this is a very bad situation and needs to be managed completely differently. And in my mind, here we come with the potential strengths that we have, that we're a small country and we do have very strong relationship between academia, and I can talk about the role of academia, but only if you ask, industry, defense, and government. Government needs to adopt. So somebody told me, well, the government is all bad. I said, no, the Ministry of Interiors, when I ask something on the internet, I do get it. And the other offices, I can find on the internet what number to call, and then I can wait for eternity. So everything is doable, and it is always knowing the need and the expertise and matching them. And this is what we're good at, but nobody gives us the chance to actually combine the knowledge and apply it locally. So all our industries are for export. Hence, we don't have a lot that is done in Hebrew. All the infrastructure, we mentioned the acceleration. It is true that part of the advancement is related to hardware development. And this is, by the way, when you compete between the US and China, US is much better in semiconductors, and Israel is very good, and Intel acquired Habana. And we know that in recent years, like you asked about the last 2 years, in recent years, the acceleration, the multiplication, doubling, is every 3 months. And previously, it was by the Moore law every 2 years. So what happened? It's the GPU. And when you use the GPU, you use the data, you use the algorithms, and everything runs at the same homogeneous rate, then you get a much, much better productivity. So this is why I'm furious.
So you don't see a lot of openness in the government sector? Or is there any reason for optimism?
It's called management. You need to take, without diminishing the might of each and every branch, you need management that integrates the needs and the expertise. And it will be that certain places will take longer. But if we already have built a system for the Ministry of Health, and the fact that it's not deployed because people in the Ministry of Health will tell you it's not needed, it's stupid.
Philip, can you try to take us somewhere a little bit more optimistic? Today, there are organizations that don't have any AI in production, while there are organizations that really have AI everywhere. That's a little bit of what Olna is saying as well. What do you think this gap will look like in 5 to 7 years?
Okay, so first of all, I have to say that I deal much more with the private sector. So if there's some difference in the optimism level, it might be biased, but I think that today, what's very interesting, the kind of special organizations that you mentioned that have AI kind of everywhere. What I think really differs them today is something very basic. They have some machine learning somewhere. So you could have like, let's say the basic random forest model that does some of the most straightforward tasks that everyone thinks of right away when they first heard about machine learning, like the lifetime value of a customer, customer churn, user churn, recommender system. All those, anyone who has any organization that has machine learning doing any of those tasks in whatever form, they're like a unique and special organization that we should learn from. Now, what I think is going to happen as we advance, from, let's say, now we're talking about close to the beginning of 2021, what I think we'll see in, let's say, 2026 is something completely different. What I think is going to happen is that this type of machine learning for, let's say, the 80% of the tasks is going to be pretty much commoditized. So I think building models is going to become either automatic or with very, very clear cookbooks of how you do it. And what I think is really going to be the difference between organizations that are kind of with the herd and organizations that are ahead is what we call control of machine learning systems. So it's knowing when you can and can't trust the models, it's finding problems in the model, it's being able to integrate models within larger and more sophisticated systems, so combining them with human decisions elegantly. So all these things are part of something that I call control. But I really think that the first steps are pretty much common for every organization. Every organization has to have some of these tasks that I described earlier that have to be solved. But I think that your way to really navigate and use it as a tool is something that's it's really not solved now. I think it's going to be somewhat solved by 2026, but I definitely think there are going to be huge gaps between companies, and this is really going to affect the way that you can really execute on whatever your digital strategy is. So this is all one thing that's we really focus on in my company on control of machine learning, and we focus especially on automatically finding problems and monitoring and so forth. Now, I think there is something else you have to say. I don't think everything's going to be commoditizing creation of machine learning models. Definitely, there are some tasks that are going to be unique for each organization and that require much and much more research. I'm just not sure that that's where, like from a revenue point of view, I'm not sure that that's like the mainstream. I think that's more of the long tail.
Yeah. Well, and I want to move to you. You're developing an AI-driven platform for primary care, which seems like a very traditional market. I think you told me that Gartner assumes that 75% of healthcare organizations will have invested in their AI potential by 2021 to improve the overall performance. And the advantage of AI-driven tools for doctors and patients is pretty clear, but can you share some of the reservations or concerns that you encounter with physicians?
Yeah. We do see a growing willingness for AI support to become part of the physician's traditional workflow. And one of the main drivers of this change is the overwhelming amount of patient digital data that significantly burden the workflow. And it's a common understanding that humans can not overcome this burden, and it can be solved, and that's done by AI technology that will support the decision and the physician. And Navina transforms all patient data into an intuitive, concise presentation. This allows the physician to assess each patient in minutes. And yet we still have a long journey until we see the physician using it widely. I think the main challenge is to gain the trust. I believe the best way to get there is to show fast improvement with the performances. As part of your product, you must understand and measure the performance and present to them as part of the workflow. If you know to do that, you can gain the trust much more quickly. From our experience, it's a critical part of your product to gain fast adoption. And there's another thing that is increasing the trust in things that we call a wow moment. We have already seen many wow moments that led directly to roll out with our primary care groups. It's that your product gives some critical insights about the patient that the physician really understands that he would miss without your tool. From then, he won't allow himself not to use the product, and it should be as part of his workflow. And we have seen this happening quite a lot.
Yeah, you and Olna both have a very suspicious audience, but in some ways for you, it's easier to, like you said, to gain the trust because, and I've seen it with your product. Once a physician sees that he missed something or that he would have missed something critical, then he wouldn't allow himself to not use moving forward.
Part of our presentation is showing some kind of possible missing diagnosis, giving some kind of diagnosis overview with linkage to the right medication and the right concept notes. And once he sees that and can gather in just in a snapshot, it looks very intuitive. So things are going well,
Yeah. Well, Tim.
Yeah.
AI is a very active research area today, clearly. But it seems that a lot of enterprises are kind of lagging behind in creating value using AI. So I wanted to ask you, what are the main differences between AI solutions in the lab? And Olna kind of hinted to it before when she was talking about academia. What's the difference between AI solutions in the lab and AI solutions in production?
Yeah, so Philip also mentioned some of it before. So as enterprises start to adopt AI in more areas of the business today, we're witnessing a second wave of AI adoption challenges. So if in the first wave, challenges were enterprise maturity, fear of the technology, how enterprises are going to implement it, how they have no idea how to start and where to start. In the second wave, as more enterprises have already accomplished their first steps in experiencing with AI, we see new challenges that appear. So, for example, things like scale AI algorithms in production, how to meet regulations using explainability, confidence, bias in mission-critical systems, working under scenarios of small amount of labeled data, challenges like how to keep the solution stable and accurate in highly noisy environment, how to reduce heavy maintenance cost of AI solutions that are already in production, and how to monitor the algorithms and create increased return on investment over time, something that Philip already mentioned. So we are witnessing that enterprise today understand that in order to have a functional and accurate AI solution in production, they need much more than creating a mathematical model based on training data. So more holistic approach of AI is needed in order to create a stable and accurate and efficient AI solution in the dynamic, fast-changing, and full of constraints production environment. So as we see it, the main difference is the environment itself. So while the lab environment and the research environment is static, clean, and stable, the production environment and the data in the production environment is dynamic and unpredictable. This is the main reason that solutions that work properly in the lab hardly ever work properly in production. So companies today usually build lab-fitted AI models at this phase of the AI transformation and not full production AI systems. And moving to production AI systems is critical in order to fulfill the full potential of AI in enterprises. Our main focus at Beyond Minds is to bridge the gap between AI solutions in the lab and the AI solutions in production.
Amazing. Philip, you touched upon monetizing as well as Rotem just now. So Since this space is a little bit new, or relatively new, then a lot of us don't yet have a clear picture of budgets or a willingness to spend relating to machine learning products. As an executive that meets a lot of clients, are you seeing any interesting trends that have to do with this? Who's willing to pay what?
So it's a very good question. I think it's definitely something that's addressed, or they have to have some approach for anyone that's operating in spaces like myself and like Rotem. I think from my point of view, these 2 years are very interesting years, 2020, 2021. I really think these are the years of transitioning, like a lot of what Rotem just mentioned now, from kind of cool but useless research to real machine learning products. And I think from what I can see during the research phase, there already was a huge willingness to spend, but basically only on salaries and infrastructure, let's say compute power and so forth. And there was something very weird that you could spend sometimes salaries that could reach $17 million per person in some cases, but then not willing to spend a few $1,000s for a product. And I think the real reason is because it was really research. It's just like a professor in the university won't pay for someone to do his research for him. But I think once it becomes a product and it goes through the transformation from being something in the lab to something that works in production, then it becomes a product and it's judged like a product. Like when you use Waze, you couldn't care less what happens in the background because you have to get where you're going. So I think what I'm beginning to see in many different companies is that they're just judging this as products. So when you judge this as product, you think, okay, if this recommender system will increase my revenue by 30%, then that's what it's worth, and then it's judged like that. And what's interesting is when you judge it versus in-house solutions, which is another way to kind of calculate what it's worth to you. So data scientists or machine learning researchers are very, very, very expensive. So any comparison to in-house solutions, like if you want to create your own machine learning platform, even whatever you calculate is going to be very expensive, and then they tend to be much more expensive than you planned as well. So yeah, I'm seeing a huge change, and in these types of spaces, like the space I'm operating in, I think it's pretty clear to anyone who has I wouldn't say anyone, but most organizations, it's pretty clear to them that you don't build what you can buy. You're not gonna. It's going to be a less good product, and it's definitely not worth. It's definitely not worth more manpower.
Yeah, that sounds like a trend that should work in favor of both you and Rotem. Olna, let's move back to a body that doesn't like to pay so much. So there's a lot of discussion around if, who, and how should AI be regulated. And I read recently a quote of a Google executive that said, when talking about AI regulation, that companies such as Google cannot just build promising new technologies and let market forces decide how it will be used, right? It's equally under their responsibility to make sure that the technology is harnessed for good. Can you share some of your thoughts on the subject?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say that, when we talk research and development for a second, we're talking about risking, saving, and preferring growth, right? And then digital literacy did not catch up with the digital infrastructure and AI-based companies like Google and Amazon and others. And what we found is that suddenly people start understanding that data has a value. Data has a value when it applies to development drugs. It applies to developing imaging machines and understanding. I've been talking to people. So today imaging is used a lot like old film was, except that it is on a high resolution screen and you can retrieve it easier. So you don't look at volume, you don't look at viability and the such. So a lot more things can be done. But prime issue is that suddenly the value of data became a source of conflict. Because you can see that companies like Facebook and they violate your privacy. Google was penalized in Europe heavily for doing that, but I think Facebook is much more there, utilizing your personalized data. You see that the question of accountability comes forward. Who is accountable? The user of the device that has algorithms or the writer of the algorithm? Then safety and security. Where you apply, and I know that Rotem is familiar with this issue from his work, but when you apply some machine, some automated vehicle, you want it to do what it is geared for, and not to go into the exceptions of hitting you back or doing something that wasn't intended. And the question is, how do you regulate and make sure that it is safe? So then comes a very important issue that we always hear about: transparency and explainability. Because we want to know that when we operate in the operation room a patient with a robot, that we understand exactly the decision of the robot, where it goes. And the same when we play with our money or anything of the sort. So we want to be able to not only apply machine learning, but also to be able to explain in each state of the machine what exactly is happening. So then comes a fairness and non-discrimination. You all remember the HR story of Amazon, where they tried to apply algorithms, and since women are more modest and no women to hire, and I are out now, and there are several other elements that are all coming in the ethics and regulation. Now, I love regulation because I come from Datacom. And in Datacom, once there was standard protocols, and I come from before there were standardized protocols, then you could interoperate. And this is a very important factor about data sharing. If you understand exactly how not to violate ethics and how to standardize, actually, you can utilize much more of the data that is available. And right today, even though we have developed quite a bit in the last few years, we are using only a small percentage of the data, because the questions that we are asking are pretty dependent on applications and not on the flexibility of APIs, for example. So I think this is a broad area. It's a fascinating area. If we try to exaggerate and to say that we're 100% proof, then our machines will not move, because they will spend all the time on the regulatory side. But if we want to be certain to give our data, by the way, anybody who knows, I'm a cancer patient, and I gave out my data for everybody in order to find somebody who knows something about the kind of mutations that I demonstrate. Nobody came back. At the end of the day, I went back to my expert doctor, and he was able, based on experience, to give me the treatment that makes me talk to you at this time. So the issue is that it's very important for us to not to give our data for free and to pay a lot for somebody who processed it. We need to be fairly partners in this value creation, and we need to understand it. And right now, the digital literacy is low, I think we need to, I think it was McKinsey who said that we need to educate 1.3% of the education yearly for 10 years in order to meet the adoption rate of AI in a broader way. So what I have to say about regulation, it's actually as fascinating as standards were, because it means a lot about how far reaching our applications can be.
Yeah, and I think that almost more than any technology that we've witnessed, regulation is going to become more and more relevant and important. I have a ton of questions. We don't have a lot of time, but I do want to address two more questions.
Some of the bigger, some of the biggest players will have to separate businesses because the dominance that they have, the rate of growth that they show is actually pulling out value from other segments that could have been richer and better fed if they owned their own
Yes.
contribution.
Yes. I want to address two last questions to you, Rotem and Ronen. Rotem, let's start with you. We all agree that eventually AI and machine learning usage in general and in the context of digital transformation or production will cross industry boundaries. But where do you see in the short and the midterm those technologies really picking up first?
Yeah, so these are really interesting questions. It depends on a lot of parameters. Given the fact that we're still at the beginning of AI transformation, different levels of maturity can be found across industries. As we see it, as a company, an AI transformation process is much more successful when driven from the top down. It requires the collaboration of different stakeholders in order to the business and depends on significant investment for changing the way business works today. So if the top management is committed to transform the business, it is possible to create value with AI in the short term in almost any industry. And I think that Orna also talked about it in the government part. Maybe the collaboration and the willingness to invest a lot of money in AI is not existing right now. So, but when looking at specific industries, from our experience, the financial services and manufacturing industries are more mature in their AI transformation journey than other industries. Also, some insurance companies progressed greatly in their AI transformation within the last, let's say, few years. And as I said earlier, my suggestion for enterprises is to start transforming their business as soon as they can in order to stay competitive and to become more efficient in their processes.
Ronen, you have one tough industry on your hands. So we've known each other for a very long time. And when you were still thinking of which vertical do you want to apply your AI and multimodal expertise, all those long years of experience, you were still not sure which direction you're going to go to. Can you talk about some of the specific technological challenges of AI in the healthcare setting?
I think the main issue, I want to relate to what Orna was saying about the regulation and the ethics, and I think it's part of the answer. I think that you're doing all kinds of very smart algorithm that can be explained. It's really hard to implement and give it to the physician and making the way to use it. So I think the main challenge is because for technology, it's not just giving some all kind of a black box deep learning stuff or whatever. You have to find a way to explain how you got your results. And if you're showing some kind of passing or missing diagnosis from which encounter you have seen that, or some kind of release from the hospital, if you're showing some kind of maybe some kind of connection between medications and problems, show from where you got this connection. Everything has to be explained. And it's pretty hard to find a way to do that. So it's also like a paradox between like deep learning black box to let's say based tools, decision support systems. So I think you have to find the right balance, but you must find a way how to get the right technology to get everything is being explained. If you can explain it, you're going to have a lot of time to implement for the physician, and of course for a regulatory it will be much more harder. You have to do all the clinical trials and show your value in much more time. So I think that will be the main concern or challenge between AI and how you explain it.
Guys, I had about 7 to 8 more questions prepared, but we're out of time. This was fun. It was interesting. We didn't cover everything I wanted to, but thank you so much for joining me, and thank you all for watching. So Philip, Olna, Wotan, Bonen, thank you. And
thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep doing a good AI work.
And happy birthday.
Ciao. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Hi, thank you for joining us for this session. My name is Ruti Arazi and I'm part of Live Labs Israel. Live Labs is Seagate's innovation center. As a global company, Live Labs Israel was launched with a purpose to become a collaborative platform where we can partner with the ecosystem to create solutions that harness the power of data. Data growth is exploding and expected to reach 175 zettabyte by 2025. With this data growth comes complexity in terms of moving, securing, storing, managing, and making usage of this data. Companies can no longer develop solutions to this challenge alone. At Live Labs, we want to collaborate with companies to increase storage opportunities, learn from partnerships, increase brand reputation, and customer breadth. The session today is a description of a successful proof of concept we held with a technological startup called Converge. Converge.io is a platform designed by data scientists to organize and simplify every stage of a data science project, including research, information collection, code writing, and model optimization. This POC aligns with our mission, and as you will hear, in just a matter of weeks, we could understand the benefit of their solution. You'll be hearing from Bruce King from Seagate and Leah Colban from Converge. Bruce is a data science technologist in the advanced analytics groups at Seagate and has been with the company for over 20 years. Leah is the CTO and co-founder of Converge.io, which she co-founded in 2016. Bruce and Leah, take it away.
Thank you, Rudy. Part of the responsibility of Seagate's advanced analytics team is to identify new products and technologies in the machine learning and AI fields. We then design and manage proof-of-concept projects that can be followed up with factory-scale pilot projects and then ultimately enterprise-wide deployments. An example of one of those enterprise-wide deployments is the Seagate EdgeRx machine learning inference system. EdgeRx is deployed in all of our Seagate factories today, and we're ramping up the workload on that system. With this ramp-up of workload, we've come to appreciate the critical importance of machine learning operations, MLOps. Seagate Advanced Analytics and Converge are collaborating on a detailed proof of concept using their Converge MLOps enterprise platform. Here's a subset of the requirements we think we need to achieve full deployment of our ML technologies across all Seagate operations. At the highest level, we need to manage the version control of model training data, the actual training of the machine learning models, and finally the deployment and monitoring of those models in our production hardware. Being able to run on a hybrid cloud architecture is important to us so that we can effectively manage our expensive on-premises resources as well as scale to cloud resources. Our experience has also shown that early collaboration between data science teams across Seagate's operations helps make deployments easier and much smoother. It also supports the rapid sharing of machine learning best practices and standard approaches. We also need to be able to monitor in production model inference deployments and to trigger the retraining of machine learning models whenever needed. The data used to train and validate all of our production models also has to be version controlled. Moving and caching modeling data between the sources in the factories and the training compute resources, whether they're on-prem or in the cloud, would also really improve efficiency. Leah Colbin is the co-founder and CTO of Converge. She will now discuss with you how Converge's Enterprise MLOps product addresses these big challenges. After Leah's presentation, I'll briefly share some highlights of what we've learned so far in our proof of concept.
Thanks, Bruce, for the nice introduction. So like Bruce mentioned, Converge is an end-to-end solution for data science teams to manage all their data science projects in one place. Our end-to-end solution enables teams to easily operate in a hybrid cloud environment, scale machine learning resources quickly, and solve key MLOps challenges to get more models into production. The main goal of the POC was to show that Converge is a one-stop shop for all the data science needs and requirements within the enterprise. The first requirement was to be able to connect all different compute resources, cloud and on-premise, to leverage them with their data science project. We then wanted to allow each data scientist or data engineer in the team to use Converge to execute their different projects and leverage all the different components in Converge, from uploading and managing their datasets, training models and publishing them into production, and automate their project by using Converge pipelines. I'll now explain each component and how it was used during the POC. The first requirement we had, like I said, is to be able to connect the different Kubernetes clusters to Converge, the AWS Kubernetes cluster and the on-premise Kubernetes cluster, so the data scientist teams are able to leverage all the resources. Data scientists first can use their on-premise compute resources, and once all the on-premise resources are 100% allocated, they can then burst into the cloud and run the training jobs on the AWS resource. The team also used this dashboard to monitor the allocation and utilization of the different resources and track the consumption by all the users, all the different projects. Every data science project starts with data. So data scientists can upload their data directly to Converge, so everything is managed in one place. Each data that you upload to Converge is tracked and managed, and you have different data commits, so you can run and train your workloads on different dataset commits of the same datasets. One thing that is important in data is that if you have a large-scale dataset, you wouldn't want to wait all the time that it takes for the data to be downloaded for each workload. So in Converge, we have the ability to cache your dataset directly to the workload. So every time you run a workload, instead of cloning the data from scratch, you would be able to attach that specific commit directly into the workloads. This could save a lot of time for the data science or data engineers using the datasets. Once the data is uploaded to Converge, the data scientists can now run their workloads on top of the data. They can first use Converge workspaces to be able to understand their data, debug, and run their code on top of it. They can use Jupyter, VS Code, or RStudio to do so. Once the code is ready, they can now run multiple experiments on top of the data. Each experiment can run on different type of compute. It can run on CPU base load, or GPU, multi-GPU, distributed run like MPI, or PyTorch distributed. Once the experiment is executed, the data scientist gets a live dashboard that get updated as the experiment progresses and can track and visualize all the metrics of the experiment. At the end of the experiment, the data scientist can understand and see all the artifacts that were created during that specific experiment. The data scientist can compare between all the running experiments in the project and then decide which one of the experiments has the best results. Then they can take the artifact of that experiment and put it in production. In this POC, we had a really interesting use cases where we wanted to be able to publish an images to Kafka topic, and with Converge endpoints using Kafka, we will pre-process those images from the Kafka topic. We'll send them to a prediction using TensorFlow serving in a gRPC protocol, and then send it back to a Kafka output topic. In this use case, we needed to use two different types of endpoints in Converge. The first one was a Kafka streaming endpoint, which will listen to the Kafka input topics and will publish the results back to the Kafka output topics. And then the prediction itself will be able to do by using TensorFlow serving endpoints using the gRPC protocol. Every input and output is tracked in Converge, and you can follow the logs and the charts of the different endpoints and see how the endpoint behaves. Once you're ready, you can create a pipeline to automate your data science workflow inside the project. For example, you can create a flow that runs a pre-processed task on a specific compute. Then the processed data will transmit it to the on-premise compute and run the different workloads on top of the GPUs on-premise. Then we will compare automatically the different results of the workloads and at the end deploy the best model to production. This makes sure that you always have the most updated and best model in production. Now I will return it back to Bruce so he will be able to summarize the POC and the lesson learned during that POC.
As you can see from Leah's presentation, Converge is a powerful, feature-rich data science application. Our collaboration with Converge on this proof of concept has taught us a lot about what is possible with machine learning operations. Here are a few of the things that we've learned along with some of the potential benefits. Using a sophisticated machine learning operations system will enable us to scale out our machine learning projects and deployments throughout Seagate operations. Reasons for that include having a low impedance path from machine learning idea to machine learning deployment. Managing the workload through our on-premises GPU servers and our hybrid cloud resources allows us to optimize utilization of those expensive resources while also expanding the availability to more data scientists company-wide. Having an MLOps tool will improve data scientist efficiency, we estimate, by up to 30 to 50% compared to using a mix of unconnected open source tools to meet the requirements that I discussed earlier. Adopting a machine learning operations platform will enable our IT organization to focus resources on the MLOps platform instead of having to support a wide variety of open source and commercial tools as they proliferate throughout the company. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks, Leah. We hope you enjoyed this session, and please don't hesitate to reach us with any questions you may have, or if you think we should get to know each other. We're always looking for interesting new collaborations. You can reach us in the address here in the slide, or look for us for our LinkedIn page, Live Labs Israel. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, my name is Noah Lubin and I'm a machine learning researcher at Diagnostic Robotics, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of our products. But first, I want to start by telling you a short story. This story dates back to the 19th century in the British colony of New Delhi, where venomous snakes were spreading around the country, killing citizens. So, the government issued a financial reward for each dead cobra. Soon enough, the citizens started breeding cobras, making the number of snakes going up instead of down. This is what we call the cobra effect, and we'll soon see it also exists in healthcare. The problem I'm trying to solve is that the top 5% of utilizers of the healthcare system are responsible for 50% of healthcare spending. So I asked myself, what if I could find those cobras, help them, and reduce the cost of care? This has been trying to be done before, using a risk score model. So a risk score model is a model which ranks patients from most likely to least likely to have an hospitalization. And here at BMJ paper, they tried to evaluate this model. They did so by doing a randomized controlled trial. This is an experiment where we randomly divide a group into two. One group receives an intervention and the other one doesn't. And then we compare the outcome. An intervention could be, for example, a healthcare program that is supposed to benefit the patient. But what they saw was the exact opposite, that the intervention group had increased emergency admissions to the hospitals. So there you have it, the cobra effect also exists in healthcare. We at Diagnostic Robotics do anything we can in order to avoid this cobra effect. We're about 100 developers, data scientists, physicians, and designers working together. In order to avoid this effect, we first understand that though 5% are high cost, only a third of them are potentially addressable, and these are the conditions that deteriorated. In addition, we understand that our outcomes have to be defined very carefully. We have dozens of models, but we usually divide them into two outcomes: avoidable events and preventable events. In avoidable events, these are events that could have been treated in the community. In preventable events, we look at conditions that, if had been treated, wouldn't deteriorate to the event. We're working with billions of historical medical data. We have a huge potential. And in this specific project, I'm working with claims data, which is very simply speaking, bills of insurance companies. So what do we do in order to turn this claims data into insights? So the first concept is medical code embeddings. We have hundreds of thousands of different ICD and NDC codes, and we want to embed them in a small vector that captures meaning. So here in this example, you can see the vector of PTCA, which is a procedure to enlarge blood vessels to allow blood to flow to the heart, is closest to medically related procedure diagnosis in pharmaceuticals, which is exactly what we wanted. The way we build this medical code embeddings is by taking the billions of codes we have, aggregate them by a medical clustering to a higher hierarchy, and then divide the timeline to each and every patient, composing a sentence from each and every patient, and training them in a model, for example, Word2Vec model. Now that we have this medical code embeddings, we try to find the best architecture. For example, you can see the deep sequential or convolutional architecture, where we take the time series I just showed you and we divide it into small buckets of months, for example, and in each and every month for each patient, we mark which codes have been presented. In the later step, we aggregate for each month the information to one vector. Then we take this sequence and put it in either an LSTM or a convolutional neural network architecture. Next step, we use the attention mechanism in order to obtain one vector that represents all the data-driven features of the patient. And then we concatenate it with the metadata of the patient and other medical features. So now we have one vector that represents the entire history and information we have about the patient, and we can make predictions on top of it. So here you can see the result for congestive heart failure patients, and you can see that our model in purple performs better than regular deep models or logistic regression models. So far, in order to reduce the Cobra effect, we build a risk score model by choosing the correct population, the accurate outcomes, and using advanced AI architectures. But now we ask ourselves, what about the intervention? How can we match each and every intervention to the best patient? So normally, physicians do this evaluation by using a randomized controlled trial, which is a prospective analysis, and it's expensive and sometimes unethical. And here what we try to do is do a retrospective analysis and to emulate this randomized controlled trial in order to measure the intervention effect. So how do we do it? We have a treatment group, which are patients who have received the intervention. And for each and every patient in a treatment group, we try to find the closest possible patient in the control group. So for each one in the treatment group, we're looking for the most identical twin in the control group, which is a patient who hasn't gone through any intervention. How do we find them? We do so by using causal machine learning, which is a very innovative field I'm happy to lead in the company. So in causal machine learning, we need to understand that correlation does not imply causation. And what we try to look for are hidden confounders, which are hidden variables that affect both the treatment and both the outcome. So in this example, you can see the confounder of the severity of the disease affects both the treatment and assigning a patient to a treatment and the outcome of, for example, hospitalizations. So in order to find these confounders, what we do is we build a model that instead of predicting the outcome, predicts if a patient will receive a treatment based on all the features we have about him. And our hope is that this score or vector will represent in a weighted way all the confounders of the patient. So we use this score in order to find the identical twin for each patient in the intervention treatment group, one in the control group. We try to do it on the congestive heart failure dietary consulting intervention experiment, and we saw no non-significant results. But when we looked at a subgroup that benefits from the intervention, we found it by using decision trees based on the differential outcomes. And we saw that this subgroup of CHF patients that had an unplanned hospitalization last year and that were only recently diagnosed, the CHF dietary consulting actually works really well. We saw that this leads to less hospitalization and emergency room arrivals on average. So to sum up, in order to reduce the Cobra effect, we built the right models and we matched the right intervention to the right patients. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach me out for any question.
Hello, and thank you for joining this session. My name is Raviv Itzhaki. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Prospera, an agri-tech AI company. I've been working and managing machine learning projects for the last 10 years. Agriculture is crucial to the world economy. It's estimated that there are at least 570 million farms in the world, where most of them are family farms, with size smaller than 2 hectares. By 2050, the world population is expected to grow to 9.1 billion people. And if we add to that the rise in economies like India and China, we will need to produce at least 60% more food on the same land and using the same resources. Agriculture accounts for 70% of the world water demand. In some areas, communities were pushed out in order to use the water for new tree plantations. In other areas, companies are trying to increase their land by removing forests. Diseases spread rapidly due to intensive monoculture, like it happens now with oranges and bananas. Repeated tillage ruin the upper part of the soil that it will take hundreds of years to repair. But not all is bad. Our great agri-tech community, together with traditional companies, are already working hard to improve this situation with technology. Precision farming allows you to apply water, chemicals, and fertilizers only to the parts of the field that it's really needed in a much more sustainable way. Farmers are typically late adopters of technology. They want to make sure that it makes sense operationally and economically on their specific fields. Therefore, the digital transformation that already happened in the 90s and early 2000s is still happening today. Data from farm machinery, soil sensors, weather sensors, and aerial imagery is being analyzed by machine learning algorithms and help in the day-to-day decision-making of the farm. Strict immigration laws and rising wages push many people out of agriculture. Many companies experience labor shortages. It's a great use case for the recent revolution in AI to automate things that it was impossible to do before. Soon, autonomous robots will move in the fields, identify plants and weeds and apply chemicals only to the places that it's needed, and harvest fruits and vegetables that are traditionally being harvested by humans due to their sensitivity. Fields are already being scanned on a daily basis in order to find problems in the operations. These images are being analyzed by machine learning algorithms and insights are produced. This workflow was not possible just a few years ago. In the last season, Prospera covered more than 5 million acres of agriculture land. In the Netherlands, most vegetables are grown in glasshouses. It's a fully controlled environment.
You can control the irrigation, fertilization, temperature, and lighting, and more. It's a notebook example for reinforcement learning. In recent competition, already several groups have shown that it's possible to outperform leading growers in terms of yield and profitability. We at Prospera are working with Bayer in order to optimize the greenhouses of Mexico, where most of the vegetables for the North American market are being produced. We believe that by 2050, most farm operations will be automated. It will allow us to produce cheaper food for the growing population. New chemical compounds will be discovered using prediction models that are much more specific and less harmful to humans and to animals. New crop varieties will be discovered by predicting the phenotypes of genes and being implemented by gene editing tools like CRISPR-Cas9. We at Prospera are working together with farmers, agronomists, and researchers in order to transform the way food is grown today. I encourage you, the AI community, to join us in this journey. Thank you very much for listening.
Everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Oren Razon, the co-founder and CTO of Superwise AI. And today I want to take advantage of our short time to tell you briefly about what Assurance AI is all about. I think that the best way to explain it will be to go through why companies that use machine learning models approach us and how our solution helps them to build a more scalable strategy for implementing machine learning across the organization. So let's start. If until a few years ago, machine learning was considered only as a buzzword and companies were just beginning to test the feasibility of the technology, then today the situation is completely different. Today, it's already a known fact that in order to stay competitive in the environment, organizations across different sectors are gearing up and looking for how to utilize the technology to automatically drive critical business processes. Now, this transition from a custom and crafted solution that often kept only as a POC to something that is done systematically on large teams and large scale introduces many new challenges. It's a bit like what we see here in the picture. You know, it's the difference between building something in your own backyard as a hobby to building a production line that works effectively and produces reliable products. What we see in the field can be seen today in every leading marketing analyst report that you will read. Companies really struggle to manage effectively the full life cycle of their machine learning models. The reason it's so difficult, it's because machine learning models are very, very different than standard software. If we'll try to summarize the gaps listed here in the table, I will say that it comes down to the fact that models' quality will forever be dependent on the quality of the data that comes into the system, and the quality of the process depends on the relevance that the model has to the currently constantly changing environment ecosystem that it works on. The combination of these sensitivities from the one end and its built-in black box nature, where we cannot really track every pattern that the model identified, caused the models to fail or produce severe business damage quite frequently, honestly, and more important, those failures will fail silently until under the radar until it's already too late. Now, therefore, the most painful step that we identified at Superwise AI is what we call production day 2. It refers to everything that happened with the model the second after it was deployed to production and should actually operate continuously in the constantly changing production environment. What makes this stage even more challenging is the fact that, as we can see in the diagram here, in each of the other steps in the development cycle of machine learning, we usually can see a clear stakeholder, but we do not have any clear stakeholder when it comes to production day 2. That's exactly where we come into the picture. Our mission at Superwise AI is to empower both data science and operational teams with the such needed visibility and control on their machine learning models so they could scale their AI-based activities effectively. So how do we do that? We've built an AI assurance platform as a service. That means that we know how to connect to any type of model, no matter what the technology in which it was developed on, and in an agnostic way to where it was deployed on. We know how to connect it very easily and provide few critical capabilities. It begins with the ability to gain high-resolution transparency KPIs regarding the data that feed to the process and the machine learning model quality and performance, and in addition to get also insight regarding a few of the operational aspects of the model. Using our own advanced, unique monitoring engine, the system recognizes the natural behavior of the process and know how to detect when there is a problem, such as drift, data integrity issue, or, for example, the need to retrain the model because the model is not relevant anymore. Using explainability techniques, we also provide the operational user with easy-to-use, very simple and nice interface where he can consume insights and gain confidence about the process. Those insights include things like identifying the global factors that influence the decision-making process, and also identifying influencing factors on specific subpopulation that might be interest for the operational teams. Also, we provide insight into the cases that the model usually works well and the cases where it usually more weak at. In addition to all of that, we are witnessing an increasing interest with regulatory issues, especially in markets such as finance, insurance, or healthcare, where in addition to all of the existing difficulties that we mentioned earlier, the organization also required to make sure that their models do not produce any type of bias or fairness issues, such as disparate treatment or disparate impact. Now, the beauty of our solution is that it allows both the data science team to be much more effective and in control, being proactively detecting problems in real time instead of doing firefighting. And they are also getting all the right tools to analyze the production issues effectively. The operational teams, from the other end, finally get some kind of transparency toward the process and how decisions are being made, and what is the current quality of the system and what factors could create some kind of risk in the process. All of that ultimately serves the business, of course, that it allows him to get ROI from effective machine learning, from its machine learning technology, while minimizing the existing risk that embedded inside those systems. To all of that, we can also add the fact that finally there is one place that broadcasts the same objective picture regarding the health of the machine learning processes to those very different users. A concrete proven example that was recently published by us can be seen in the words of one of our own customers. You can see here how we got into Monday.com to monitor their models that were used by the organization marketing department. Right after we integrated, we became a necessary tool, both for the data science teams that get transparency and insights from production, allow them to be more proactively and conduct more effective research, but also at the same time, the marketing analyst, which is the operational user, suddenly get a sense of independence and confidence as they get real-time proactive alerts regarding the health of the process, instead of constantly digging and searching to see if something is not okay and what is the health of the process. So enough with the big words, and let's see the system in action. First, we can see that once we've entered the system, we can explore and see the state of the various models that the platform was connected to. As I mentioned previously, we can connect to models that are being served in different platforms, such as DataRobot, AWS SageMaker, or even a custom Python service that you develop. We will now enter into a specific loan approval model, and immediately we see a rich analytical environment that provides the users with access to various models KPIs, and we can explore those KPIs on different time resolution, compare them across different timeframes, and we can do it all for the entire model population or for a specific segment in the data that we want to monitor on. The information is available as an aggregative report or as a trend over time that also enable a cross-version view of the system health. The set of KPIs that come out of the box is very rich and include indicators regarding the level of performance of the models, in this case, log loss, ROC, AUC, and include KPIs on the quality and stability of the model inputs up to the feature level and also KPIs of the model output. For each of them, we have available descriptive statistics such as missing value, variance, mean value, cardinality of the data, and more, as well as a unique drift analysis that could show drift from a feature level to the general multivariate distribution drift of your model inputs. In addition to this analytical rich environment, the user can also see insights about the weak spots areas of the model, where our system recognizes automatically low performance segments which are operating much worse relative to the entire set of data. Now, let's see a additional flow of the system, where instead that the user will have to go model after model, KPI after KPI, and look for issues, we are proactively alerting when our monitoring engine detects abnormal issues. The alert could come in common channels such as Slack, email, or API webhooks. In this case, the system detected a general drift in the input data that feed the model. The system will allow the user to investigate and understand when the event started, what is the severity of the issue, and give you the tools to do effective in-depth analysis to see how each one of the features contributed to this drift and what exactly changed in their distribution, so the user could get a clear understanding of the drift root cause and find the best way to handle it. That's it. So I hope you found this session interesting, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the conference. If you're at a point where you already have models in production and identify yourself with some of the difficulties that I've mentioned here, or even if you just want to share your thoughts and ideas on MLOps topics, I'm always happy to jump in and share my thoughts or from our experience. So feel free to reach out and contact us on social media or leave a message in our website. Have fun. Ciao.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan Levy. I'm the CEO and founder of Mipasa. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to run through Mipasa. What is Mipasa? Why we created Mipasa? What you can do with Mipasa and how to join us. So let's start. Mipasa is a collaborative, data-driven, browser-based decision-making platform that allows you to collaborate with confidence. And let's talk about why you need it and what is it. So it's a cloud-native programmable data hub that is running in a browser. Basically, you can accelerate research, development, testing, experimenting, visualizing, collaborating, publishing, post-production monitoring, all in a browser. If it sounds like it's not too much, I think it's a lot. I think the main challenge is actually to make it simple, to get results to be explainable. And there's a huge problem that people overlook. It's about making stuff shareable. So why do it all in a browser? Productivity, you can work from anywhere, no installations, you set up and everything goes with you. Collaboration, your collaborators also don't need to install anything, they can run from a browser. Shareability and control, it's very good practice to not have stuff on your laptop. It's very good practice to not have stuff on an old computer. It's very good practice to be able to reproduce numbers so that you can retain control over what you're sharing with people. Instead of emailing a huge PDF or a zip file and in 2 seconds you become kind of, out of order, or you don't even know what happens to your data later on, it's much better if you retain the control over the data. So browsers are good for you. Why cloud first? So synchronization, you always work with the same or the latest files, right? So everybody's looking at the same version. You're looking at a lot more compute power, memory, storage, interacting with different infrastructures. So you need to do it in a much more scalable way. You can also do it on premise, but moving to the cloud is not a bad thing. You can pay only for what you need. in the sense of, at the moment, I'm going to start with one node and I'm going to run it, in a very simple way while I'm testing, experimenting, trying stuff. If I want to scale, it's exactly the same API to do it on one machine or 1,000. Another thing that is important about cloud compute when it comes to analytics at scale with the way we do it is that you pay only for what you need. So if you don't run stuff, that's okay. If you need to run stuff, you can scale. So there are a lot of benefits to moving stuff from a small computer to the cloud. Okay, let's talk about the problem very quickly. I think it's clear. It's difficult to make informed decisions, run models and analytics at scale. Data is everywhere, different locations. Data is getting updated in different frequencies, right? You have like event-based data. You have batch-based data. You have data that you don't even control. Not everything is changed by you, right? Bloomberg feeds for, finance. It's very difficult to work with multiple data sets continuously, right? Different languages, units, time zones, metrics, file structures, file formats. I'm going to show a few examples, data quality and reliability, right? So if I have a CSV that I just downloaded for somebody, or if somebody gives me like a mid-calculation output, it's not the same as I'm going to get some highly regulated, approved data, let's say trial data that is really well taken care of, or some financial data that is provided to me by the exchange. Different quality of data, right? So we need to take care of that. Researchers, modelers spend more than 80% of the time trying to make sense, gathering data, cleansing data, formatting data, structuring data, and less than 20% trying to actually model the stuff. Very difficult to collaborate. How do you share? How do you work together across teams, across organizations? So there are enough problems that we are trying to tackle. Our expertise, before working on Mipasa, we worked on secure multi-party sharing in terms of blockchains, DLTs, distributed systems, a lot of cryptography involved with who can see data, how to reproduce data. Everybody should have the same version of the truth. So that's kind of one aspect that we spent over 5 years on in the sense of blockchain. Highly regulated environments, right? There's sensitive data, there's data retention requirements, processing, the right to be forgotten, regulations. There's a lot of stuff going on that is actually needed in terms of like working with sensitive, models, outputs, analytics, and making decisions upon that. Permissioning and control. We spent a lot of time prior to Mipasa working on who can see data, who can run, who can process, who can store, who can share on your behalf. And that's what we kind of came and brought to the space. And we had an idea. What if we can create a secure multi-party system that will allow and help to develop, test, deploy analytical models at scale, securely, safely, and seamlessly? Browser, okay? That's all we need. So what do you want to do, right? We wanted to have shareable building blocks. Shareable building blocks for us are data, models, your code, your notebooks, insights, the charts, the diagrams, the outputs, just to mention that sometimes an insight can be an input to another model, right? So I can run some model, get some coefficients, write into a CSV, and then that in itself is an insight to another model or to another team. So all of these building blocks needs control. We wanted to actually have full control over what is being shared amongst that team, this organization, this company, or across multiple teams, okay? It's actually more difficult to do it in a scalable way without sharing. So there are many research groups that work together. How do we work? We have a lot of data. We analyze, cleanse, normalize. I'll show it very quickly. We have the model, the provenance, attribution, so we know who shared what, with whom, for how long, and we have the full governance and access underneath, and that's the insight that's going out. Multi-cloud support from day one. We work with Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, Splunk. We have very scalable infrastructure abstraction as well, so you can grow with the demand. Demo time, okay? Very quickly, I'm going to show you how you bring your own data, how you do everything in a browser, and how you share insights. So let me switch to a browser. So this is Mipasa. It's going to be a very short demo. Try not to intimidate anyone, but you can contact us anytime. So when we started, we were looking at data sets, okay? And data sets was something along the lines of, I have ECDC data for COVID, and I wanted to look at the structure of the data. And when we looked at the structure of the data, it was actually weird because we have different indices, right? So if I wanted to take any, let's say, population size that is not 2019, and I wanted to look it up and mix it with another data set, how do I do it, right? Do I do Afghanistan? Do I use it as an index? Do I use AF? Do I use AFG? etc., etc. UK, United Kingdom, Great Britain, etc., etc. What we do, we actually normalize all this data to be same country code, right? ISO standard, same time zone, UTC. Okay, we have the full control over how to transform this data. It's all coding. It's very easy it's done in Python as well. We have simulations and scenarios, so it's very clear to us what's happening with the input. That was the input. The next step is actually to take the data and use it, right? So if I'm gonna go in 2 lines, I'm gonna import this data. It's very integrated. I can find more data. Everything is done in a browser. I can save, share. If I have a model that I wanna share, I can share it with either with the public or with a few trusted collaborators who can view, who can edit. Full control over that. Jupyter Notebook support, no problem. Team support, very easy to create a team and work within a team. Again, you can share data, models, and insights on the team level. I'm running very quickly, but you basically have your own setup. But if you ask me, other than data and cleansing and monitoring and knowing what's going on, I think one of the big features that we bring to this space is that this is a Wharton Hackathon kind of resource. Let me try to find it. These guys won the hackathon that we ran with Wharton a few weeks ago. It was earlier this month. And let me show you what you can do with Mipasa. Mipasa allows you to take this insight and to actually go and look at all the ingredients that were used in the process of creating this insight, from the data sources, from the models, from the versions of the data and the models and the outputs, and you can actually reproduce everything. So it's repeatable and reproducible. I'm gonna go back to the presentation because I'm running out of time. I have only 10 minutes, so that's okay. We can work with statistical analysis, regression testing, prediction models, finance, optimizations, machine learning, and of course, AI, whenever you want to be able to reproduce numbers, wherever you want to understand who is using your models, your data, and your outputs. Summary, the challenge was to make it simple and intuitive, clean UI, Python, browser-based. For me personally, I was a banker for more than 10 years, Goldman Sachs, Barclays Capital, Standard & Poor's. We have a lot of people from Deloitte. We worked in a very explainable way. It was very important for us not to just publish a model, but actually to explain the numbers, to look at them. If something changes in the data, to actually see the propagation of the change. So we can give you performance monitoring and results based on check-ins. All the shareability is a huge issue. Sharing data, sharing models, sharing outputs. That's what we do best. And I think my call to action is, thank you very much. Join our beta. We are hiring more people. We are looking for more collaborators. We want design partners that have problems in terms of data, coding, sharing, risk analysis, modeling, outputs. Please reach out to me, reach out to the team. Super happy to talk to you. Ben Pellet and People on Computers, thank you very much for having us here. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hi everybody, I'm Asaf and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Iguazio. So this is an AI conference and everybody talks about the great potential and the great stuff that is done with AI, but I'm not sure that most of you are aware of a very interesting fact that 80% of AI projects that are successful in the lab never make it to the business, never really make an impact. And this is what we're here at Iguazio focused on solving. This stat is coming from Gartner. They've been talking with many customers over the years, and we've seen this disconnect. There's so much excitement and hype around AI and about bringing change to the business, using data to apply it on AI and then change the business, improve the business, but still 80% of these projects never make it to life. And we'll talk about how we're solving it at Iguazio. I'll give some examples, but before that, a few words about the company. We've been around since 2014 with lots of funding so far, over 70 million, and got some financial investors and also strategic investors, including Samsung, Dell, Verizon, Bosch, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And with each one of them, we've been working on their specific market and field to help bring the change and apply AI to their businesses. So what is that problem? Let's explain it in a little bit more details. When you think about an AI initiative in a business, in an enterprise, usually how it starts, you collect data, you bring a bunch of data scientists, you do some research, and then within the lab environment, you're playing with the data, you're cleaning it, you're bringing data from multiple sources and trying to find correlation, exploring the data. And over the past few years, there have been many companies that focused on that area with tools including AutoML and really cool technologies that help you create those machine learning models and bring this correlation between the data and the predictions and the conclusions that come out of the data. Well, it's very different when you think about the environment in the research environment and how things operate in the business, where the data is streaming from multiple sources. You have online data that is streaming to you. You have historical data that is sitting in your data warehouses. You have the application data that sits in the operational systems. How do you bring all of that together is very different than how you have it available to you in the research lab. And this is a disconnect that has been created over the past few years. Obviously, the life cycle and the journey of companies in AI starts in the lab, and this is where most of the investment have been so far. But this is where the disconnect starts, because when people think that they're done, where they have their model and they did the demo to the executives, everybody came in, they saw the initial results, applauded and said, okay, bring it to the business. It feels like there's not much work needed, but this is when the journey starts. This is where the heavy lifting starts. This is where you need to run these models at scale. This is where you need to bring the data from all these sources and cross-correlate it in a timing that then would be fed into the models. This is a difficult part in the process, and this is how we're solving it at Iguazio, where we have built a data science platform that addresses the entire life cycle, from the data collection through the development stages and all the way to production, in a way that you have an end-to-end environment that allows you to build the models. You can also bring your models that you've built them in with third-party tools, but then how do you actually bring it to life? How do you build that production pipeline that collects the data from the different sources, does that at scale, and then runs your models, whether you need models that leverage GPUs or CPUs. You got it solved at Iguazio. Very important. We've seen enterprises that still have on-prem needs. It's very popular today to do everything in the cloud. We support both cloud and on-prem environment using exactly the same user experience. And we've been working with all the major cloud vendors, and our platform supports both cloud environments and on-prem. Let's go through some examples that I think will tell the story best. So one of our customers is a very large credit card company with millions of credit card holders that wanted to innovate in a way that will benefit their shoppers, their merchants that work with their credit card, and overall their business of revenue. So they decided to embark a new project that is essentially a real-time location-based recommendation engine, where you purchase a certain product and immediately get a recommendation for another matching product in a nearby business, walk-in distance from where you are. Great concept, great for the businesses, great for the credit company, and for the shoppers that opt in to do that, it could be a very nice shopping experience. So they brought a couple of data scientists. They collected data from the profile that they have in their data warehouses. They have lots and lots of transactional data. They have the active campaigns that the different merchants are doing, and then put all of that in the lab and worked for a couple of months and created this amazing machine learning model, in fact, a deep learning model that leverages many data points and altogether provides recommendations. They had all the executives come in, they watched the demo, everybody was happy, and they told them, go ahead, bring it to the business. And then the operational guy said, there's one thing, remember we have millions of credit card holders, you need to have at least 500 transactions per second, at least 500 recommendations per second at peak hours. Have you dealt with that? Do you know how to do that? So the project got stuck for months and months. They were trying, they brought in GPUs, they brought in more compute power, but really never made it close to that benchmark that they were set. And then Iguazio was brought in, and within weeks, we allowed them to build an end-to-end pipeline that collects the data in real time, cross-correlates it with their data warehouse data, brings the data from the operational systems. All of that is being fed to the models and is parallelized. The models get updated over time, and at the end of the day, running 24/7, a platform. In this particular case, we're even talking about an on-prem deployment, a complete dark site, and Iguazio provide 24/7 support to that customer. The platform runs 24/7, end-to-end environment that has served the customer. They have developed the models with third-party tools, but then the tricky part was how to bring it to life, how to bring it to production. And that's one example. We have other examples from payments where we allowed a customer here in Israel called Payoneer to move from fraud detection to prevention, where they prevent the fraud. They actually predict that fraud is about to happen, and they've done it using Iguazio. Before that, they were detecting after the fact. With Iguazio, they moved to a prevention method. Other applications include predictive maintenance. We have worked with NetApp, the global storage leader that collects data from all of their deployments. They have a predictive platform called ActiveIQ that is running in production on Iguazio, and we allowed them to introduce new services at a much faster time to market. That's the value proposition of Iguazio, bringing data science to life, allowing you to really have a much better cadence of from the stage where you have the model in the lab till you have it in real life, in production, helping your business, bringing data science to life. Thank you.
Hi, I would like to talk with you today about the opportunity and the concerns that the COVID-19 era brings to industries such as aerospace, automotive, and defense. These industries have already begun adopting 3D printing, and they are embracing this technology as we speak at larger extent than ever before. This is driven by both the need to create a supply chain mitigation strategy as well as thanks to the higher level of the maturity of 3D printing. By using this 3D printing, those players have the ability to create a diversified and robust supply chain, reduce the product cost development, unleash creativity, and creating a lighter, stronger, and more geometrically complex parts. Unfortunately, due to lack of automation in 3D printing workflows, production of the parts consists of repetitive, time-consuming manual tasks that demand constant trial and error. This results in high pre-printing labor cost and increased dependency on a few skilled employees' experience. Moreover, because of pre-printing evaluation is so complicated, as you need to take in your account hundreds of parameters, the poor reality is that in most cases, the failure rate of those printed parts is very high, despite the huge time and labor investment. This is most evident in highly demanding regulated industries, such as the aerospace, automotive, and defense. Prince's proprietary AI engine enables 3D printing with confidence of industrial-grade parts. My name is Itamar Yona. I'm a 3D printing expert and the co-founder and CEO of Prince's. Prince's grew from deep understanding of the problems and the pain points that 3D service bureaus constantly face, and especially as they print industrial sophisticated parts. Prince's is a golden child of my brother and I, first-hand experience in 3D printing and its pain points. Powered by an AI engine and machine learning, Prince's automates workflows and turns service bureaus and manufacturing engineers into instant 3D printing experts. Prince's proprietary 3DP AI Perfector enables any operator to learn without making costly mistakes. Our patented technology allows us to identify the digital part functionality and act upon it. We understand the intent behind the geometry, which allows us to automate the entire 3D printing workflow. Let me show you how it works. First, our artificial intelligence technology analyzes the complex geometries of a model, referring that to a large database of 3D models. Using trained algorithm based on expert experience, it automatically defines the best parameters for printing. To summarize, Prince's engine allows users to get better reflection of their intention, and by that achieve product satisfaction, therefore ensuring compatibility with demanding functional requirements. This is done almost instantly, in just few seconds, so the ROI is huge. Our team is a great combination of industry veterans and leading AI researchers, including 2 PhDs. The rationale is that 3D printing is a mixture of an art and science. Only by linking cutting-edge technologies with experience from the field, you can actually bring tangible value to the customers in real life. We have already thousands of working customers worldwide. Our customers vary from technical service bureaus to leading academic institutions. During the last 12 months, and specifically after launching our next generation of the AI engine, the 3DP AI Perfector, we are already engaged with multiple prospect customers who are industry leaders. Some of them are even Fortune 500 companies. They clearly understand the potential of our solution as for them. Recently, we have already formed a strategic partnership with ValueChain, a leading ERP player that specializes in aerospace industry. This collaboration enables aerospace manufacturers to enjoy an integrated solution of leading ERP software together with Prince's AI engine, all tailored to their specific needs. I strongly believe that this is the right way to improve productivity and scale up 3D printing operations for the customers. This unique collaboration, backed by the Israeli Innovation Authority and the Innovate UK. 3D printing is not a question anymore, it's a fact, and if you want to dominate the manufacturing industry, you should come and talk with us. Thank you.
I'm Shifka Siegel from the Israel-Australia Chamber of Commerce. The IACC is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to the promotion of bilateral trade and relations. I'll be giving a brief overview of a few AI innovations that we are seeing in agriculture today. AI in agriculture is improving farming across the globe with complexities such as unwanted insects and pests eating away at crops, unawareness about the right pesticide for produce, not knowing the proper time to plant or harvest a particular crop, not understanding the nutrition deficiencies in crops, and how to purchase the correct farm equipment. Now more than ever, there is a greater focus on technology to provide the intellectual power required to optimize these challenges. An example of major AI developments in agri include agriculture robots, where companies are developing and programming autonomous robots to handle essential agriculture tasks, such as harvesting at a higher volume and faster pace than human laborers. Some examples of this would be AI computer-based vision robots, using perception algorithms and software that's retrofitted into autonomous tractors and equipment. Robotics is being used in the picking of peppers, tomatoes, and other crops without human intervention by using AI computer vision and drones that identify when the crops are ready for harvesting and collect data of quality and quantity on each plant. Another AI agri-development seen is crop and soil monitoring, where companies are leveraging computer vision and deep learning algorithms to process data captured by drones and or software-based technology to monitor crop and soil health. An example would be a predictive drone technology that applies deep learning from its field scouting app through aerial imagery and satellite imagery to predict and prevent crop disease and pest-based losses. Drones are being used for precision agriculture in spraying, pruning, and harvesting. Predictive analytics is using machine learning models to analyze various environmental impacts on crop yields such as weather changes. Kirk Haney, CEO of Radical Growth, a US-based VC, that provide a platform for visionaries in the ag space by identifying the most innovative technologies and accelerating them with a range of value creation initiatives, said, "In a few years from now, the farm will be connected, completely digitized, and this will revolutionize how data is analyzed on the farm. This will increase food production to feed people, increase the quality of the food, and enable farmers to produce it even more sustainably than they already do." Formerly, farmers' best farming practices were monocropping, tolling, and intercropping. It has caused severe erosion to our Earth's soil. Soil is the Earth's fragile skin that anchors all life on Earth. Half of the topsoil on the planet has been lost in the last 150 years. In addition to erosion, soil quality is affected by other aspects of agriculture. These impacts include compaction, loss of soil structure, and soil salinity. Health of soil is a primary concern to farmers and the global community who depend on well-managed agriculture that starts with the dirt beneath our feet. By implementing AI technologies like drones and remote soil sensors, farmers are able to analyze precise amounts of fertilizer and water telemetry to determine levels needed to irrigate crops and ensure healthy soil. This, in turn, has proven to the industry that AI in agriculture is interactive, intuitive, and educational, making it intelligent and futuristic. We're seeing sustainable fish farms using AI technologies in open oceans. These innovations move fish offshore and back into their natural habitat, where oxygen levels are ideal and natural micronutrients help the fish grow faster and healthier. The technology has a system with a continuous weight monitoring camera with added features designed to gauge variables such as population distribution, oxygen data, and water temperature. One of the solutions for feeding the expected growth of our global population, 9 billion by 2050, is AI climate smart aquaculture technology, enhancing sustainable fish production in the face of growing demand and climate change. Let's talk about bees for a moment. We've all heard about the bees that are dying worldwide due to many variables that include heavy pesticides, drought, habitat destruction, air pollution, and even global warming. There are very innovative companies out there that are solving that very issue by offering autonomous beehives that operate with minimal human intervention by utilizing AI-powered precision robotics and computer vision. This innovation helps to keep the bees alive in spite of all the stressors and challenges they face, allowing them to thrive, pollinate, and produce honey. These insights give beekeepers and conservationists data on elements, pest control, swarm prevention, and automated updates for harvesting in real time. Another innovation in bee conservation is a platform that predicts beehive challenges and tracks pollination progress, combining machine learning and low-cost sensors for precision pollination for the bee colony. For the future of AI in agri, sustainable agriculture plays a large role in paving the way to a healthier ecosystem. Sustainable agriculture produces its own inputs and manages its own outputs in a closed-loop cycle. Additionally, when adding AI into the cycle, it contributes and benefits to soil fertility, clean water systems, biodiversity, and other ecosystem services, rather than depleting them. Overall, when you take AI and agriculture and put them together, you revolutionize farming. These farmers will be more successful if they are able to more efficiently use their natural resources and new innovation in the market. It has been said that the farmer's shadow is the best fertilizer. When you see that shadow today, don't be surprised if it's holding a smartphone, a tablet, or a drone controller. I've briefly discussed a few of the challenges in agriculture that are being addressed by AI solutions. We at the IACC assist many companies in accessing the international market, and we help manage those relationships with our expertise. To get connected, please be in touch. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation today.
The Brits drink 165 million cups of tea a day. And why this is important? Because if you want to enter the UK market, you should start drinking some tea with milk. Hi everyone, my name is Liron Atias and I am the Strategic Relationship Manager at the Department for International Trade at the British Embassy in Tel Aviv. I am very fortunate to assist Israeli companies to set up operations in the UK in order to grow and scale their businesses. The UK is the most popular place to set up your business and has been for the past 10 years. The UK is a natural destination for many AI companies to grow their businesses, and the UK government is serious about driving future growth. The UK is the home of thousands of dynamic, high-quality, innovative companies, from the most exciting new startups to global brands. Setting up your business in the UK gives you access to millions of potential customers across Europe. The UK has the lowest and therefore the most competitive tax cooperation in G20. Is the friendliest market to do business with. It takes only 24 hours to register a UK company and only 13 days to establish a business in the UK. The UK economy is the 5th largest economy in the world. London is the world's largest financial center in Europe. 4 out of 10 Europe's tech unicorns has been created in the UK. The city is one of the most visited places on Earth, even virtually. It is no surprise that Israel was among the first to sign a post-Brexit trade deal with the UK, marking the importance of this relationship moving forward. The UK and Israel continue to trade freely and under the same conditions as today. On the investment side, there are approximately 500 Israeli startups in the UK. Israeli entrepreneurs are looking at the UK as a getaway to a global market, while the UK is seeking for the Israeli talent, creative energy, entrepreneurship, and innovation. No wonder that Israeli unicorns like Lightrix, IronSource, Pioneer, Get, Orcam, and both Outbrain and Tabula established a business presence in the UK. And it doesn't stop in Corona days. where we see cutting-edge companies like Trigovision, Wix, and Space Pharma, and Monday setting a footprint in London. The use of artificial intelligence is becoming integral to people's everyday lives, from companies protecting their customers from fraud to smart devices in our homes. AI is impacting the productivity in diverse sectors, such as manufacturing, professional services, and healthcare. The UK is a world leader in AI and in a strong position of the development of AI. It contains over 1,000 AI startups, 600 investors, a vivid startup ecosystem, and a constellation of legal, ethical, and financial strength. AI has been developing for years, but it's entering a crucial stage in its development and adoption, a stage that the UK is ready for. The British government announced a $1 billion deal to help the UK creative industries to thrive and create 7 million jobs in the UK alone by 2037 in the AI sector. The UK would like to encourage businesses, researchers, innovators, entrepreneurs to develop AI and to encourage UK citizens to feel comfortable using it. There are many funding opportunities for AI companies, such as the Seed and Enterprise Investment Schemes, which are tax relief schemes for investors in early-stage startups. Tax relief schemes for patents filed in the UK. Any profit from these patents will be taxed at 10% rather than the current level of 19%. The UK government set AI as one of the fourth priority in its industrial strategy. In the fight against COVID-19, AI is playing a key part, and organizations must be quick to adapt in order to curb this pandemic. Another great example is the Knowledge Transfer Network, who is responsible to connect innovators with new partners and new ideas, accelerating ambitious ideas into real-world solutions, and apply for joint collaboration funding. And they are doing it for free. For healthcare and government institutions, that includes using machine learning to enable chatbots for screening symptoms and answer questions raised by the public. The UK is serious about investing in the AI sector, and that is why there is an AI office and an independent AI council in the UK. It's the first of its kind in the world. Top universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh, and London are all excelling in machine learning, applied mathematics, and computer science. Recent example of government investing in research made by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who pledged £250 million into an AI laboratory that will help boost dementia research and make the UK a world leader in this field of research. Innovate UK is a research and innovation body who fund businesses and research collaboration to drive economic growth. One amazing example with Innovate UK was an AI delegation that our Science and Innovation Department facilitated. Women delegation of UK entrepreneurs coming to Israel to discover collaboration opportunity. From all the reasons stated, the UK is an ideal ecosystem for many innovative companies who want to grow, including AI ones. DIT, the Department for International Trade at the British Embassy Israel, helps Israeli companies locate and grow in the UK. In the past 5 years, we supported more than 300 Israeli startups to set up or expand their operations in the UK, creating jobs and strengthening the business and trade ties between Israel and the UK. We help businesses to build connections with other businesses across your sectors, assist with visa application and other immigration issues, help you find grants and incentives to help your business grow. So how do we do that? We can conduct a market survey comparing location within the UK, identify who are the main players in each sector, compare salaries, rental, that can be a focal point in every company's strategic decision. We can make direct introductions with experts who sit in the UK within all sectors. And if you think that once you establish a business in the UK, we leave you, you don't get rid of us that quickly. We continue to help you expand to new locations within the UK and hire more talent. Pre-corona, we facilitated seminars at the ambassador's residence, where we invited experts from the UK and our companies to take part. We also take delegations to showcase the UK and promote business opportunities. We have now a new exciting campaign for companies with international growth ambitions, our Tech Rocket Ship Awards, a campaign that is across Europe, including Israel. The deadline to apply is November 15, so follow our British Embassy LinkedIn page and see more details on this slide. Winners will receive a 3-day tailor-made program to travel to the UK. Flights and accommodations are all covered, connecting you to the UK leading growth ecosystem, including VC firms, in-market advisors, and more. Another exciting opportunity is only for creative Israeli companies that are looking to set up in the UK. The 3 winners will get intros to investors in the UK and mentoring guidance from UK creative industry experts. I was delighted to virtually be with you today. I would like to thank People and Computers for inviting me. Please PM me after the event. I will be happy to answer any of your questions and support your journey into the UK. Thank you. Bye.